45 seconds remaining. Seconds remaining. Fifteen seconds. Break ends in 5 seconds.
He's live. He's nationwide on CBS Sports Radio. This is the Zach Gelb Show. Here's your host, Zach Gelb.
Live from the place yet not overly ostentatious studios of CBS Sports Radio here in beautiful New York City, sitting on top of the 10th floor of 345 Hudson Street. Welcome to a Football Friday edition of the Zach Gelb Show across all of our great local CBS Sports Radio affiliates, Sirius XM, Channel 158, the free Odyssey app, and of course, streaming live on YouTube. And geez, you guys are really zoomed in on me on YouTube right out of the gate. I thought I was about to have a little bit of a voice crack when I look to the right and I start doing the Football Friday, and maybe it looks like I'm in the bathroom to start out this show. 855-212-4CBS is the number to jump on in. 855-212-4227. You can always get at me on Instagram, where I'm straight flexing, or via the good old cesspool of Twitter at Zach Gelb. That's ZACHGELB. All righty. Let's get going right out of the gate with the Denver Broncos. I think it's pretty clear what's happening in Denver right now, because Sean Payton is considered to be a great coach, and he's been the complete antithesis of that ever since going to the Denver Broncos. And he's doing things that, quite frankly, doesn't make sense. He's throwing his quarterback under the bus publicly. He is trading away or cutting players that have done some pretty significant things before in this league. At least they have a reputation of being good players. And last night, he made a boneheaded decision where he called a timeout because he forgot what down it was, and then that led to a Kansas City Chiefs field goal. And I'm watching the game last night, and I start to think about the Broncos having their first-round pick this year, and I'm saying to myself, looks like Sean's tanking. Looks like he is tanking to go get Caleb Williams. And if that's the case, and I know that's a really slippery slope to play, I think it's the right decision. Because you have to know, if you're a Broncos fan, that Russell Wilson isn't the guy. He's not what he used to be. So now moving forward, you have all these draft picks that you traded away, and then you also went on out and gave Russell Wilson a lucrative extension. It's one thing to make those moves, and it's another thing to keep on doubling down with that incompetence. And Russell Wilson is just not a great quarterback anymore. And then there's this hope, and there's this dream, and there's this thought that Caleb Williams is not only going to be a great player for years to come, but he's going to be a generational player, where you are having him compared to Patrick Mahomes. And when I asked him about that at the Heisman Trophy last year, he was like, there's nothing that Patrick Mahomes does on the field that I see that I can't do. So he's embracing the confidence, and he's embracing the hype train that is stemming from all the analysis that we've done over the last year and a half when it comes to Caleb Williams. And the Denver Broncos should absolutely try to go get the number one overall pick. And I usually say that players don't tank, coaches don't tank. It's organizations that tank with ownership and general managers. But we all know Sean right now is the most important person in that organization. And when I do the math and I see this guy that is such a pride and such a proud and a good coach, and historically has been such a good coach, it makes me scratch my head over and over again when I look at the results on the field. And I didn't think much of the Broncos before this year, but they're not even like competitive. And their offense, which doesn't have a lot of talent, it's moving at a snail's pace, and it just looks terrible. So if this is the grand plan by Sean Payton, where you got to take it on the chin for a year, you got to get dragged nationally, you got to do things that doesn't really make sense to the common football fan, I don't believe this is the wrong strategy. And I actually think this is the right strategy. Because you have a lot of teams now that are going to realize we're not moving in the right direction. So how do you expedite that process? You got to get the right quarterback. Like, look at the Cincinnati Bengals. The Bengals forever under Marvin Lewis were stuck on just being a playoff team, and then each and every year, death taxes, wild card weekend, the Cincinnati Bengals would lose on wild card weekend. Then you bring in new coaches, and those coaches didn't have the best talent in the world in Zach Taylor, and it was ugly from the start. But then you drafted your savior in Joe Burrow, who was a Heisman Trophy winner, who was undefeated as a quarterback in his final season at LSU, orchestrated one of the best offenses and one of the best seasons that we've ever seen from a quarterback in the history of college football, and catapulted himself from pretty much an unknown, even though he was Mr. Ohio at one point and was at Ohio State. But from an unknown in his first year at LSU to then in year number 2, he shoots right up the draft board all the way up to the number 1 spot, and then changed the direction of the Cincinnati Bengals, where when he's finally playing and he wasn't injured, Super Bowl, loss to the LA Rams, and then the next year goes to an AFC title game. So that's what the Broncos need to do now, where, yes, you have to figure out how you get better at wide receiver. You know, who's going to excel moving forward on the defense, because the defense has done a 180, and it went from being a really good defense to a horrible defense. And I'm going to assume at the end of this year, Vance Joseph is going to be sent packing, and they'll bring in a new defensive coordinator, maybe Rex Ryan, who wanted this job, didn't get the job, and is still complaining on ESPN about not getting the job when he looks at the way that this defense is performing. But it all circles back when you go through the math and you look at this team and you view the bad performance right now. Their intention has to be to try to go get this number 1 overall pick. And you're going to have a lot of teams that right now are stuck in knowing that they're a bad team. And it's weird in the NFL because you can't say you're tanking. No teams are going to admit you're tanking. But you don't want to be, for example, a team like the Jets that we thought a few years ago were all going to get Trevor Lawrence. Then they win a game late in the year, and the next thing you know, the Jacksonville Jaguars gets Trevor Lawrence, and that changes the direction of their franchise as well. So you're going to have a bunch of teams, because it's not as just if you know a quarterback's going 1. Because some years quarterbacks go 1, and we go, oh, he may become a great player. Like Bryce Young last year. We looked at Bryce Young. Some people were concerned about his size or lack of it. And then others said, oh, well, look what he did at Alabama when Alabama didn't have a lot of talent last year, and he put up a pretty impressive season. But there was a thought Bryce Young could be a great player. With Caleb Williams, ask anybody. It's not just, oh, he's a great player. He's a generational player. He's a changing of a franchise type of player, which what you want when you're picking number 1 overall. And people could say, oh, he's the next Mahomes, or he'll do to a franchise what Andrew Luck did early on to the Indianapolis Colts, or Peyton Manning did to the Indianapolis Colts as well. And with how great this guy is supposed to be, I don't fault any team for saying, yeah, let's try to go lose games this year, and let's try to change the direction of our franchise. So let's just examine right now. And I know that this is very, very early, but let's examine right now the teams that you feel have a realistic shot to go get Caleb Williams. We start with the Broncos. They got 1 win right now, and I don't know when they're going to get their next win. Because what you see from Sean right now is a quarterback and a coach having a little back and forth, and Sean throwing the quarterback under the bus. And if that's what we see, it's got to be a whole lot worse internally. You got Jerry Jeudy before the game getting into it with Steve Smith. And it's like just some of the things that are going on with the Denver Broncos right now just displays that they're a clown show. And when you're bad and you're a football player, like two things happens. One, you just like kind of tune out and go, oh, this is it. I'm checked out on the season. Or two, you're like, all right, I'm a player that isn't a really good player in this league. Let me take advantage of this opportunity to go show that I belong here or somewhere else for years to come. But I do believe that the Denver Broncos are trying to get this number one overall pick. And if they get the number one overall pick, they'll figure out what to do with the contract with Russell Wilson. And they'll go out there and they'll draft Caleb Williams. The Patriots, that's a team that needs Caleb Williams as well. And I said this to start the week. I hope my Patriots don't win a game for the rest of the year. And I hope that's good enough to go get Caleb Williams. And then Bill Belichick needs to realize once you get Caleb Williams, you have to do what you failed to do with Mac Jones, and that's surround your young quarterback with actual talent. The Arizona Cardinals, they've been gritty. They've been respectable. But with that being said, they only have one win still. So they're in the market with their own pick. And then they also have the Houston Texans pick, which I don't think is going to be the number one overall pick because the Texans are off to a good start for them at 2-3. But that is ammunition where if, let's just say, a team that doesn't need a quarterback ends up getting the number one pick, maybe you could find a way to orchestrate a trade, having two picks that we perceive to be at least two top 10, two top 15 picks for the Arizona Cardinals this year. The Chicago Bears. The Bears right now have to be genuflecting that they traded from 1 down to 8 with the Carolina Panthers. Because Bryce Young, I think, is getting ruined by the Carolina Panthers right now. But with that being said, you didn't have to draft Bryce Young. You wanted to roll another year with Justin Fields. Justin Fields, the last 2 weeks, to his credit, is playing well. And then from there, it's like, okay, can you salvage Justin Fields? But if you play poorly yourself, you could get the number one overall pick, or you have the insurance of the Panthers, who are by far and away the worst team in the league right now, and they don't even have a win through the first 5 weeks of the season. And the Carolina Panthers, if they're continue to be really bad, which I don't see any optimism for that team this year, you get the best of both worlds, where you could get the number one overall pick from the Panthers, then maybe be a few spots better than what you thought if the Bears play well. You're still going to be picking in the top 5. Maybe you get a Marvin Harrison Jr., a wide receiver, and then you make that decision to, if you draft Caleb Williams, to then trade Justin Fields. And if Fields plays decently the rest of the year, you're going to get something significant back from a draft capital perspective for Justin Fields. The Vikings, that's a team that I don't believe anyone would have thought before the year we would have been talking about them with the number one overall pick, but they got talent. They got Addison out of USC and Pitt. They got Justin Jefferson as well. Kirk Cousins, he's coming to the end of his final year of his contract. They only got one win right now. Could you imagine if the Minnesota Vikings get the number one overall pick, they get Caleb Williams to throw the ball to Justin Jefferson and Addison? Ooh, that would be a whole lot of fun. And then here's another team that we knew that would regress, and we'll wrap it here. We knew this team would regress. With that being said, though, we didn't know they would fall flat on their faces. And that's the Giants. I know the Giants just committed to Daniel Jones. It was a 3-year deal. You can get out of that very easily. The deal structure by Joe Shane, the general manager, it was a smart deal structure by him. But if you look at it for Daniel Jones and the Giants, who cares? You get Caleb Williams, you get rid of Daniel Jones. And Carlos Ortiz is producing the extravaganza today along with Stuart Kovacs. And when I mentioned his Giants, Carlos Ortiz is like, please, 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 pretty please. Let's go get Daniel Jones, the New York Giants. That's what Carlos Ortiz is saying. So those are the teams that I think are in the market right now to go get the number one overall pick. The Broncos, the Pats, the Cardinals, the Bears, the Vikings, and the Giants. Those would be the 6 teams that have a really good chance to go get Caleb Williams. Now, let's just play some sound here real quickly. This is Sean Payton last night. He takes the blame for the timeout that was called late in the first half, and he explained why he did it.
Yeah, listen, and that's a boneheaded mistake by me. They were calling one as well, and I'm off and down, but that was stupid.
It was stupid. How do you forget the down, and then you take a timeout, and you help the Kansas City Chiefs then set up that crazy 60-yard field goal before the end of the half? And then this was on Fox from last year where Sean was an analyst for Fox. And this is Sean Payton talking about Caleb Williams. And then a year later, I think this is very interesting audio.
I think he's a generational player. Now, I've seen 3 or 4 games, obviously not as much as I would if I was truly doing the evaluation. But at some point, especially with the relationship our league has in gaming now, at some point we're going to move to a lottery system in the NFL. Because this is a player that possibly does that, where at the end of the season, here you are in week, call it 14, 12, and clubs begin to lose to try to put themselves in that position. This player, I think, is the type of player that we would look back on in 5 years and say, he's why the lottery exists now.
So that's basically someone that used to be a coach that then turned into an analyst, that now is coaching again, is now in a position where last year he openly admitted teams are going to tank for Caleb Williams. So last night when you see these boneheaded decisions and really a boneheaded start to his tenure with the Denver Broncos, you're like, is this intentional? And I don't just think it's a coincidence. Like, I look at what Sean's doing right now, and I think this is a strategic decision by him to be as bad as possible this year, ruin that relationship with Russell Wilson, get rid of some really talented players, and give himself the best chance possible to get that number 1 overall pick so he could find his next Drew Brees, hopefully his next Hall of Fame quarterback. And people are saying that Caleb Williams is a generational player because you either have a quarterback in this league or you don't. And moving forward, I don't think Russell Wilson is going to be a successful quarterback for the rest of Sean's tenure. So he's looking at this and he's saying, I got to go get the one that everyone's going for right now in Caleb Williams. And if that's intentional, and if that's tanking the way that I think it is, I know we could all say, oh, you shouldn't do that, the integrity of the game. But it's actually smart by Sean, because then no one's complaining in Denver if you get Caleb Williams and you're a contender for years to come. It is the Zach Gelb Show on CBS Sports Radio. We'll take a break. We'll come on back. Do you think the Broncos are tanking? 855-212-4CBS, 855-212-4227.
You're in a 5-minute break. Four minutes, 30 seconds remaining. Four minutes remaining. Three minutes, 30 seconds remaining. Three minutes remaining. Two minutes, 30 seconds remaining. 2 minutes remaining. One minute, 30 seconds remaining. One minute remaining. Forty-five seconds remaining. Thirty seconds remaining. Fifteen seconds. Break ends in 5 seconds.
The Zach Gelb Show is on the air.
I enjoy this show, and you're a very sharp young man, and I enjoy everything that you say.
Here's Zach Gelb.
All right, it is the Zach Gelb Show on CBS Sports Radio. We'll preview a little Washington and Oregon coming up tomorrow in just a bit. Fun college football slate tomorrow featuring Notre Dame hosting USC and then Washington hosting Oregon, two of the better games of the weekend. But first, we open up the show talking about the Denver Broncos and how it looks like they're tanking right now. If it looks like they're tanking and it feels like they're tanking and they play like they're tanking, well, they probably are tanking. And it would be really smart if the Broncos continue to do this, because then they could go walk away with Caleb Williams and have some piece to move forward at the quarterback position, because it's wild. Ever since number 18 and Payton Manning walked out of that building and won that Super Bowl with the Denver Broncos in Santa Clara, as it was Broncos and Panthers in Super Bowl 50, they have brought in so many quarterbacks, and they have not only all played poorly, but they've all been massive failures. And this was supposed to be different because they get Russell Wilson, and Russell Wilson has just crapped the bed through his first year and change with the Denver Broncos. And now the question just becomes, when do the Broncos split from Russell Wilson? And it could be as soon at the end of this season or maybe by the end of next season at the absolute latest. 855-212-4CBS, 855-212-4227. Love Portland, Oregon. Let's go out to Kevin, who's calling in from Portland right now. Kev, what's happening?
Hey, how you doing, Zach?
Doing great.
So I've been a Seahawks fan for quite some time. I watched Russell Wilson, maybe missed a handful of games in 10 years. He will not change. There was a period in Seattle where he clearly dropped off. I don't know if it was just losing that explosiveness in the pocket, but the offense in Seattle just went stagnant. And I was like, all right, next year will be better. All right, every quarterback's allowed an off year. Next year will be better. It just didn't happen. He gets injured on his throwing arm. Geno Smith comes in. The offense just started moving again. It just like that. So whatever happened, he's lost it. He's fallen off. He's gone. So, I thank the Denver Broncos very much for Devin Witherspoon and the other slew of players they gave us. But it's time to move on, guys, because it ain't happening.
Kevin, great phone call. And when I look back at Russ's time towards the end in Seattle, there was a big debate. Is Russ holding on to the football too long, or was the offensive line just really bad? And early on, because you looked at how many times Russell Wilson was getting sacked, everyone just easily assumed it was the offensive line's fault. And that offensive line, to be fair, was not great in Seattle. But then there was numbers. And then there was situations that were presented to us, and it was like, whoa, it's a little mixture of both, and more so him hanging on to the football more than I thought. So that started to change. But even that, you didn't think he would go from being this really good quarterback to now like the punchline of every joke around the NFL, where it's almost sad as to what Russell Wilson has become. So yes, he is declining, but I don't think him just declining should have been to this level where he went from being really good to now just being terrible and looking like a bum on a football field. But what happened was, and this is sometimes the biggest fall of a human being, is ego. And his hubris was wild here, where Pete Carroll was his biggest supporter. He turned on Pete Carroll, and not only that, his grand plan and his big scheme was to wind up in Denver, where you don't have DK Metcalf, you don't have Tyler Lockett, and you had another very questionable offensive line. What Russell Wilson did had to be one of the greatest miscalculations in the history of sports. And I would say I feel bad for him, but you kind of are getting what you deserve, because you had something really good in Seattle and it wasn't good enough for you. You had to focus on becoming this icon, and Russell Wilson, the brand, Russell Wilson, the celebrity, where when you went on the Dan Patrick show and started all this nonsense, remember, it was, I'm sick and tired of being at the Super Bowl every year as a spectator. I want to be playing. Well, maybe you should stop focusing on all those other things and focus what's going on the field. Because on the field, it's a mess. And on the field, he's still pointing fingers, and it seems like there's no accountability there. So this has been a bleep show. There's no other way to put it. This has been a disaster. There's disasters, and then whatever's worse than a disaster, that's what's happening right now with the Denver Broncos. And I sometimes like to be optimistic. I sometimes like to say, okay, let's be a problem solver. Let's solve this crappy situation. Let's build it back up. I don't think there's any building back up. I think Kevin's right. I think he's done. And you look at his stats last night. If I would have told you 13 of 22 for 95 yards, a touchdown and 2 picks, what game are you watching? Flag football? High school football game? High school quarterback? Oh, no, that was an NFL quarterback last night. And look at the team. Like, you're throwing to Cortland Sutton, who made a great catch. That's the only reason why you got a touchdown. Is Jerry Jeudy like the most overrated player ever? I keep on being told that Jerry Jeudy, he's this number 1 wide receiver. You had to draft him in the first round. He's going to be a sensational player. And Jerry Jeudy was really good at Alabama. But just because you're really good in college doesn't translate into NFL success. And does anybody think more highly of themselves than Jerry Jeudy still? I want to play you some of this, because Steve Smith is a legend. Steve Smith is someone that should already be in the Pro Football Hall of Fame. And I guess Steve Smith and Jerry Jeudy had a previous back and forth where Steve, which I give him credit, some players, they don't like to be critical analysts because they're afraid of what people are going to think about them. But this is Steve Smith, where he was critical in the past of one Jerry Jeudy. I guess he tried to apologize to him the other night, and it was a bleep show. This is Steve Smith on the NFL Network last night.
I'm sorry that I said you were a jag, just a guy who's an average wide receiver they use a first-round pick on that isn't doing anything. I hope today that you actually show up in a way that you haven't showed up in the last couple of years since they drafted you. So if you ever got a problem with Agent 89, I'm sorry for saying that you're an average wide receiver that they eventually will move on. And when teams call me and asking, should they trade for you, I would say no, don't trade for Jerry Jeudy because he's mentally unable to handle constructive criticism from people who watch specifically, can he be a wide receiver? He could be a wide receiver. He's a tier 3.
Tier 3. We may need to lower that a little bit more after last night. Jerry Jeudy had 3 receptions for 14 yards. And this all started because Steve Smith, I guess, before the game tried to go over to him, and then Jerry Jeudy gave him a lot of attitude and was trying to basically fight Steve Smith. So that said, and I guess it quickly got to Jerry Jeudy, and Jerry Jeudy in another pregame hit for Steve Smith is dancing in the background. He's making a bunch of noise to get under the skin of Steve Smith. Jerry Jeudy, you may think you're tough. Steve Smith is a whole different level of tough. That dude is a guy that should have a bus reserve in Canton, Ohio, and he was one tough wide receiver in the NFL. You can't even sit at the same table as him because there is levels of greatness. You're begging to get into the restaurants that Steve Smith gets into, right? Steve Smith has the hookup everywhere you go. You're saying, hey, can you, I'm this guy. I do this. I do that. You're a pimple on the you-know-what of the great Steve Smith. Here is Jerry Jeudy after the game where he had to be like a scared puppy dog after the way that he ran his mouth before the game and everything that did transpire with Steve Smith. And then you put up 3 receptions for 14 yards and you basically pretended like that whole kerfuffle with him and Steve Smith never existed.
Jerry, a little bit of drama before the game with Steve Smith Sr. I'm wondering what your thoughts are on that right now.
Man, that was a tough loss, man. I feel like at the end of the game, I feel like we could have got there, but, they had a good drive at the end.
Jerry, Steve Smith said he had some kind of conversation with you before the game. Did that not go well, or based on what he said on air on NFL Network?
I don't remember that. But like I said, it was a close game. We just got to finish at the end of the game.
Now he turned into Roger Clemens. Did you do steroids? I misremembered. That's what he did. Well, what happened before the game? We all saw it. It's not as if there isn't social media now, and if they're not live TV cameras, everyone saw that something did happen between him and Steve Smith. Yeah, nothing to see here. Because he knows he's in the wrong. And I know players before a game get to a different level, and you have to focus in, and you get to mentally a different state. But if that's true that Steve Smith, and I don't know if it is, but if it's true that all he did was walk over and said, hey, I'm critical in the past of you, you turned out to be a good player, which he really hasn't been. He's been a disappointment most of his career. That's why I'm surprised at the whole Steve Smith thing. And then if he basically told him to just bleep off, and then you're dancing behind him and yelling during his pregame hit, you don't look good. And if you're Jerry Jeudy, you can only have a measly 14 yards in the game, even if your quarterback sucks right now. You have to play better than that. So that was something, you always tune into to a football game. And there's things that you expect, and then there's things that you never know could even happen. That was one of those things last night. I did not have that on my bingo card, that Steve Smith and Jerry Jeudy were going to have a fight, and Jerry Jeudy took a massive L last night. Real quickly, Washington, Oregon this weekend. This is the game that I'm most excited for. Kalen DeBoer going up against Dan Lanning. You have Bo Nix and Michael Penix Jr. as well. This is a big Heisman moment for both these quarterbacks. And it's crazy that how similar of a road both these quarterbacks have traveled, because when Bo Nix was at Auburn, he's supposed to be really good and never met up to that hype. And then you look at Michael Penix Jr. outside of that touchdown that Penn State fans were like, he was down, and he probably was down up against Indiana, but he scored. There was no really great moments for Michael Penix Jr. at Indiana. And also, Michael Penix Jr. had to suffer a lot of injuries. And when both these guys transfer, Bo Nix going from Auburn to Oregon, and Michael Penix Jr., who did did play for Kalen DeBoer when DeBoer was at Indiana for that 1 year, and he goes to Washington, there was no expectations. And last year they laid a foundation where all throughout the year it was like, expect the Indiana version of Michael Penix Jr. or expect the Bo Nix version at Auburn to pop up in their new homes. And they never did. They never popped up. And they have both now solidified themselves as not only really good quarterbacks, but quarterbacks that have NFL aspirations and also Heisman Trophy aspirations this year. And Michael Penix Jr. was could have been a finalist for the Heisman Trophy last year and came up just short. But I look back at both of these quarterbacks, and now to see where they are, the winner of this game, there's going to be even more of a Heisman push, and maybe they end up meeting up a few weeks from now back in the Pac-12 championship game, and you could have another Heisman moment there. for either Washington or Oregon. But you look at the Heisman chase right now, definitely Jordan Travis at Florida State is in the mix. Dylan Gabriel after last weekend is in the mix. We know Caleb Williams is the reigning Heisman Trophy winner. He's in the mix. And the winner of this game, you can make a case at Georgia, it's Brock Bowers too, the tight end. But quarterbacks, non-quarterbacks usually don't win this award unless you're a running back. But whoever wins this game, and Penix has had a great season, Bo Nix has had a great season, they're already in the mix. This will be the tiebreaker that will shoot them up the leaderboard for the Heisman Trophy. And I can't wait to see both those offenses go at it coming up tomorrow in the afternoon. All right, we'll come on back. We'll chat it up with Willie Colon, the former NFL offensive lineman. Does a great job as an analyst for Fox and SNY. He'll join us on the other side. But first up with the latest CBS Sports Radio update, here is the Ackman, Rich Ackerman.
CBS Sports Radio. Sports Flash.
The Giants are 1-4, and their injury list for Week 6 is a lengthy one. There are several starters out, beginning with quarterback Daniel Jones, as well as offensive lineman Andrew Thomas and John Michael Schmitz. The Browns will have a tough enough time with the 49ers. Now they'll have to go without their quarterback, Deshaun Watson, who will miss a second straight game due to a shoulder injury. Deion Sanders got off to quite a start at Colorado, winning his first 3 and raising the Buffalo's profile since. They've been humbled by a pair of losses, but got back on track with the win last week. Tonight, they'll host 1-4 Stanford, with the first-year head coach trying to get his team back to his expectations.
There's lofty expectations for every game, for me. And I'm not going to change my standard. My standard is my standard. The way we practice, the way we prepare, the way we perform. My standard is my standard. I have a lofty standard. That's why I'm here.
Also tonight, 5-1 Fresno State meets Utah State, and Memphis hosts Tulane with both at 4-1. Tomorrow, top-ranked Georgia looks to remain unbeaten when the Bulldogs go for their 7th straight win at Vanderbilt. I'm Rich Ackerman.
CBS Sports Radio is everywhere, Perloff, at home, in your car, and, of course, on your phone and tablet.
Maggie, you can find us on your local affiliate, Sirius XM Channel 158, or the free Odyssey app.
CBS Sports Radio.
You're in a 5-minute break. Four minutes, 30 seconds remaining. Four minutes remaining. Three minutes, 30 seconds remaining. Three minutes remaining. 2 minutes, 30 seconds remaining. Two minutes remaining. One minute, 30 seconds remaining. One minute remaining. Forty-five seconds remaining. Thirty seconds remaining. Fifteen seconds. Break ends in 5 seconds.
He's back. Here's Zach Gelb.
All right, we continue. This is Zach Gelb Show, coast to coast on CBS Sports Radio. Let's go out to the guest line right now. Welcome in a man that is now an analyst at Fox, also SNY, played with the Steelers and the Jets, and that's former NFL offensive lineman and Willie Colon. You know, it's weird to say he's an analyst at Fox because he's the co-host with Craig Carter, who used to work inside this building. And Willie, I know working with Craig for so many years, that means Craig just makes you eat a whole lot more than you probably want to with the amount of food connections he has.
Oh man, I can't blame Craig on my weight gain. That's all me. I'm a foodie at heart, man. Craig just happens to match my energy when it comes to food and enjoying having a good time, man. I love him. It's been an absolute a gem of an experience. He's I get to witness the magic of Craig Carton every day, and I'm blessed for it.
So I'm watching the game last night. And when I'm seeing just the incompetence of the Broncos and all the boneheaded decisions by Sean Payton, I say to myself, this looks like they're tanking to go get Caleb Williams. Your thoughts on that?
Yeah, I mean, that's the easy narrative to have. The problem is, Sean Payton was brought in that building to be the difference maker. All I've ever heard out of Sean Payton thus far is a bunch of complaints and problems and no solutions. Valid. Russell Wilson isn't even the problem. Valid, he didn't have a good game last night with only one touchdown and two interceptions. But overall, this is a bad outfit from top to bottom. And Sean Payton was supposed to be the guy, so to speak, to come in and clean things up, get Russell Wilson on track, let this offense come alive. And Vance Joseph, the defense is just atrocious. You talk about Randy Gregory leaving, and now he's at 9. You talk about the secondary hasn't been able to perform up to standard, and they're not able to get after their quarterback with their pass rush. So they have a lot of deficiencies on both sides of the ball. And Sean Payton right now, he has to figure out what's the future for the Denver Broncos. And I don't think he has an answer right now.
And you go to the next team, the Kansas City Chiefs, they were playing last night. We all know how great they can be, and their offense still hasn't been in sync yet. And we all look at the AFC and talk about how it's open. I'd be kind of surprised if the Chiefs don't find a way to get this thing figured out on offense and wind up in the Super Bowl again.
As of right now, I don't see them winning the Super Bowl, flat out. You talk about last night having 4 out of 5 red zone trips, only coming away with 1 touchdown. That's not the Kansas City Chiefs that we've known to grow and love, so to speak. Patrick Mahomes is always going to be a difference maker. But right now he has only one threat, and that's Travis Kelce. Everybody else is just out there. Rashee Rice, the rookie, he's playing better. He had 7 catches yesterday. But overall, this is an offense you expect to average at least 30 points a game. They have yet to do that. So, and they obviously they had that one game against the Bears where they had 41 points. But out of that, if that game doesn't happen, they're in the bottom half of this league in scoring, and that's not Chiefs football, if you would. That's not Andy Reid football as we know to love. So there's a lot of issues right now. I think when the trade deadline comes, if they can somehow make a push to get Devontae Adams out of Las Vegas and get Patrick Mahomes a true number one receiver, things will turn around. But right now, he's still trying to figure out what he has on that offensive side of the ball outside of Travis Kelce.
Talking to Willie Colon right now. All right, let's talk about some of your former teams. We'll start with the Jets. The popular thing is to throw out maybe a Kirk Cousins trade to New York. I just don't think that is likely. Where do you stand on that, and do you just feel as if it's going to be Zach Wilson's team for the rest of the season?
I think it's going to be Zach Wilson's team. In reference to Kirk Cousins, his contract is up in March. If I'm Kirk Cousins and you're looking for a new deal and a new outfit, won't you just pad the stats? They're not going to the playoffs. Justin Jefferson is out, but he's still playing high-octane football. Now, the Minnesota Vikings have 12 turnovers. They need to be better in that category, but Kirk Cousins is still throwing the football at a great rate. He's still making plays. He's explosive. So if I'm him, stay put, pad the stats, and then realize when March is over, you're going to have a great opportunity to play for somebody, hopefully a playoff contender.
You know how passionate that Steeler fan base is. Right now, everyone wants the offensive coordinator, Matt Canada, out. What are you seeing right now with the Steelers offense?
I'm seeing a ball club that just lacks identity. Obviously, their defense is always going to be top tier because of T.J. Watt and some of the pass rushers they have. But the loss of Cameron Haywood has hurt them. I know Cam personally. He was my little brother when I was a Steeler, and he embodies the Steeler culture through and through. But nevertheless, man, from the offensive side, Kenny Pickett isn't as advertised. We thought the preseason, we thought he was going to be one of these guys. You say, oh wow, here he comes. He has arrived. That has yet to happen. Pickett, you talk about Allen Robinson, George Pickens, you talk about all these other weapons that we assume were going to be a legit threat for the Pittsburgh Steelers. Hasn't come into fruition. I think Jaylen Warren is probably the one bright spot on that offense that you say, you got something there. But overall, they just need to score. They haven't been able to score. And his defense has really been able to kind of pull out some wins. With the Steelers right now, it's just a matter of going back to the brand of football that we know them to have, being able to run the ball and play behind their defense and win games. They've done that half of the part. Now, if you go back to that Baltimore game, Baltimore just fumbled the bag, so to speak. You have as many drops as they had, and in fashion in which they had it, you're going to lose ball games. And when you go against a scrappy outfit in the Pittsburgh Steelers, they're going to find a way to win, and they did. But overall, man, they're going to have to figure out what's going on with Kenny Pickett. How can they get this offense to come alive? You count your blessings in one thing. Mike Tomlin is going to figure it out. That's what he does well. He adjusts as well. He's going to figure out how to get this team to be what they need to be, especially as we get longer into the season. But the Steelers are, they're just kind of in limbo right now. They're kind of going through it.
What would you say to Steelers fans that are starting to lose faith in Mike Tomlin? Because you just said it. He's going to find a way to figure it out. But for the first time in a while, there's a lot of more vocal Steelers fans saying maybe he's no longer the guy in Pittsburgh.
Well, because I think they're starting to question the standard, right? And the standard has always been Super Bowl or bust, bottom line. We've never played for division titles. We never played to make the playoffs. Every season, that has been a given. Thus far, we haven't been back to the Super Bowl since 2010 or 2011 when I was on the team. And so right now, you're looking at a fan base who's used to excellence, right? It's no different how the Yankees fans expect the Yankees to go to the World Series every year. There's just it comes with it. Like when you talk about particular ball clubs, you don't talk about playoffs and division titles. It's either championships or we're not talking at all. So they're growing weary. But trust and believe, Mike Tomlin is always going to keep this outfit ready. And if they're not ready, he's going to figure it out. You talk about prior to the Baltimore game, they put on the pads and they kept the pads on for majority of the week because he understands one thing that Pittsburgh Steelers do. They play physical football. And I felt like against the Texans, they weren't as physical. They got beat up a little bit. And you talk about losing to a rookie quarterback in C.J. Stroud, that can't happen when you have that type of talent on that type of team and the Pittsburgh Steelers. So I think Mike Tomlin is still trying to work with this group. But they're going to get it. One thing about the Pittsburgh Steelers, they kind of sneak up on you, especially late in the season. When everybody's beat up, they start getting better because they're built for the grind. So I'm not really worried about the Pittsburgh Steelers. I think Kenny Pickett just needs to pick it up, and they got to start scoring some touchdowns.
You think this is it for Belichick in New England, or he'll be back as the head coach next year, Willie Colon?
I think this is it. To be honest, Robert Kraft has been vocal about, this team not winning playoff games or making it to the playoffs, which they haven't been in a while. It's about Super Bowls. And I think right now, Bill Belichick is probably one of the best coaches of all time. You can put him right up there next to Vince Lombardi and Don Shula, sure. The problem is what Bill Belichick is that a lot of the answers we thought were the answers hasn't happened, right? When you let go of Josh McDaniels, you say, all right, bring in Bill O'Brien. He's going to connect with Mac Jones. The offense is going to be better. And that hasn't happened. Once Mac Jones lost Jacoby Myers, he didn't have a security blanket anymore. You talking about Mac Jones starting the season, he's trailed in every game he's played in, and he's only gotten worse. This defense, you talk about losing Christian Gonzalez at the cornerback position, a rookie who's playing extremely well. He's going with ACL. You talk about Judon getting hurt with a bicep. They just don't look like the New England Patriots. And one thing you know about Bill Belichick, or at least what we assumed is, not only is he an authoritarian, but he also knows how to adjust. He's the biggest brain in the building. And we haven't seen that type of action or that type of progress happen yet with the New England Patriots. And so for me, watching Mac Jones and watching this outfit all together, man, they just like they're playing high-octane bad football across the board. There's nothing on tape that makes you say, that there's a bright spot. And you're watching a struggling Mac Jones who seems like he wants out of New England. He doesn't want to be there anymore. So that's troubling considering he's such a young quarterback. But I think Bill right now, it's two things. If he steps aside and it just focuses on being a coach and not the GM, or him and Robert Kraft say, hey, man, it's been fun. Best of luck to you in the future, and they part ways.
And it's so mystifying because everything you just laid out with Belichick, it was like last year, okay, you're trusting a special teams guy and a defensive guy to run your offense. And then this year, you bring in Bill O'Brien, wonderful, but you could only go so far if you just have an offensive coordinator, and there's no talent. There's not a single Patriot wide receiver right now that if I was a defender, I'm like, oh, we got to stay up late at night to prepare for this guy on the Patriot offense.
100%. And the thing about Bill Belichick, he's always had a developmental system, right? You've always kind of had to say whatever guy he brought into the building, whether they had a name or not, there was always something you had to trust in him because you trust Bill Belichick in his eye.
But you can do that when Brady's your quarterback. When you don't have Brady, you can't just have developmental people.
100%. But now all of that's kind of unraveling. So now you're starting to question, was Bill it or was Brady it, right? And now that those answers are starting to, you don't have to look around no more. You say, oh, there's a problem here, right? Bill maybe not have been the guy. It's because Tom Brady masked all the deficiency this team was lacking at the time. So I'm looking at this Patriots team moving forward, man. Bill looks like a guy who's over his skis for the first time in his career. And I think we're witnessing it. And I say this, man, and Zach, you know sports. For a lot of this younger generation, they only know Brady. They only know Tom. But their grandfathers and uncles and fathers know the Patriots when they were god-awful. Right?
My uncle is one of them. And from Framingham, Massachusetts, they have 4 tickets. They get 15 people into the games.
Right. So now you have the old heads, so to speak, saying, I told you. It was only a matter of time. And so now they're talking to the young heads in the family saying, man, we were around when the Patriots sucked. Yeah. When they were god-awful. Now you get to experience, but we experienced most of our lives. So it's trouble in New England. I think the best way to go about it is saying, Bill, we love you. We thank you. We can put a statue outside the stadium. We'll put you in the ring of honor. Obviously, you're a Hall of Famer. But it's time to go fishing, and we see you down the road. Maybe on the sports desk as an analyst.
That would be, we're going to look at this play here, and we're going to analyze this, and we'll sit back, and we'll talk more with Willie Colon at another date. But, Willie, great stuff. Keep up the great work with Fox and SMY. I always appreciate you would jump on board with us.
Thank you, man. I appreciate it. God bless.
There he is, Willie Colon, joining us right here on CBS Sports Radio with the Zach Gelb Show. And he makes a lot of good points, man. The more and more I think about this, even as a Patriot fan, the more and more I start to say to myself, feels like it's time to move on from Bill Belichick, even though that's tough to do. And then you look at the Steelers. This is right now on the Steeler fan. They say it's on Canada. Eventually, that's going to shift that this is on Kenny Pickett. But then it's like, oh, that wasn't even his play call. He audibled it at the line of scrimmage, and Pickett throws a touchdown. And that gives the Steeler fan more ammunition to say, oh, the offensive coordinator's not right, and there's still belief with the quarterback. Because you blame the coach first, then when you bring in a new coach and the player still stinks, then the player ends up getting the blame. All righty, we'll take a break here. Zach Gelb Show, CBS Sports Radio. We'll come on back. We'll update you on some of the biggest stories in the world of sports with some audio. We get to a news brief.
You're in a 5-minute break. Four minutes, 30 seconds remaining. Four minutes remaining. Three minutes, 30 seconds remaining. Three minutes remaining. Two minutes, 30 seconds remaining. Two minutes remaining. One minute, 30 seconds remaining. One minute remaining. Forty-five seconds remaining. 30 seconds remaining. Fifteen seconds. Break ends in 5 seconds.
He's live. He's nationwide on CBS Sports Radio. This is the Zach Gelb Show.
All righty, hour number 2 of our radio program. That's right, it is the Zach Gelb Show, coast to coast on CBS Sports Radio. It's time to Ask the Pros, where you, the listener, gets to ask us a question, brought to you by O'Reilly Auto Parts. Simply tweet your question at CBS Sports Radio or at Zach Gelb, ZACHGELB, using the hashtag Ask the Pros. Be listening later in the show when we might answer your question. Think O'Reilly Auto Parts for all your car care needs. Get guaranteed low prices and excellent customer service from the professional parts people at O'Reilly Auto Parts. Time to update you on some of the biggest stories in the world of sports with some audio. Let's get to a news brief.
Time for your daily news brief. We get you caught up on the rumors, reports, and reconnaissance from the day in sports.
So the Giants are screwed this weekend. The Giants are really screwed for the rest of the season, but this weekend in particular, not that it's a big plus if you have Daniel Jones, but I think you'd much rather have Daniel Jones than Tyrod Taylor. Daniel Jones out this Sunday as they go to Orchard Park to go up against the Buffalo Bills, who are a 15-point favorite. Andrew Thomas, offensive lineman, and the Giants' preeminent offensive lineman, also out. So I can't give you any hope here if you're a Giant fan heading into this one. Now, I will probably have this clip used against me on Monday because I'm going to say this. The Bills are a lock this weekend, and the Bills are the survivor pick for this weekend. And I was debating who I'm going to use as my survivor pick earlier in the week. I'm like, I could go the Eagles up against the Jets. I looked at the Rams, and I said maybe they're the play up against the Cardinals. But with that being said, I just read a report that Sean McVay's wife is expected to give birth like any day now. And if she goes into labor, he said he will miss the game, according to Pro Football Talk, against the Cardinals. And then I'm like, oh, keep it simple, stupid. Let's not get crazy here. The Giants are playing the Bills. Yes, you have the Dayball and Shane connection with Buffalo and how much they're familiar with this Bills regime. But just from a talent perspective, it's not even close. The Giants are all the way down here. Oh, wait. Can we find the Giants down there? Oh, let's get the Giants some water. And then you have the Buffalo Bills all the way up here. And you have the Bills fans jumping off of like mountains to land on tables. And they still are looking down laughing at the New York Football Giants. But anyway, we need a little levity here for Carlos Ortiz, who's helping out with the show today because he's a miserable Giant fan, right? Carlos, you want to laugh a little bit. You're a friendly guy.
I only laugh to keep from crying because of how bad this season is.
Well, I'm going to make you laugh here. Here's your offensive line coach, Bobby Johnson, on the pressure he's feeling.
How much when the line struggles do you feel the pressure on yourself?
I always put pressure on myself. You know, now if you're asking me, do I feel pressure from other people? Yeah. I put way more pressure on myself to not even really pay attention to the other stuff. Has anybody said anything to me directly? My job is to get the guys to play to a certain level. They have not played at that level. So thus, I feel pressure, not by any outside measures. You know, I mean, I went home the other day, my wife booed me. That's enough pressure. You know what I mean?
Now, I have to ask you something here, Carlos. Do you think when Bobby Johnson walks into his home, his wife's sitting there saying, "Boo! Coach, you suck! Your line's horrible!"
If she's a New Yorker, yes, but no, there's no shot that he's walking into booze. She's giving him the support hog and like, hey, you get him next time, Tiger.
I don't know, though. I could see... Now, I don't know how large his family is, like if he has kids or anything like that. But if you're sitting down at the dinner table, you know, everyone likes to poke fun and have some jokes at the expense of our loved ones in the family. Like, do you think if he has a kid, his, like, I don't know, his 8-year-old saying, hey, Dad, can we actually block for the quarterback for like 3-4 seconds? I'd be doing that as he would then say, oh, pass me the steak. Dad, pass the steak, and how about you guys actually finally do something up front in the trenches?
Oh, kids are savages. Kids have no filters whatsoever. So you pass that steak, and you're just like, oh, look how easily that got through. It's smooth, just like your line.
Is that the coach saying, maybe the wife saying no nookie time, and you have to sleep on the couch? Yeah, if your offensive line doesn't start playing better?
It's serious. You'll know she's mad if she doesn't say anything. That's when you know he's in the doghouse.
Well, also, you got to probably enjoy living in that New York, New Jersey area. If you're Bobby Johnson, if you continue to perform this way with your unit, you're going to be having to pick up and move your family and move them somewhere else. So maybe that is like kind of a motivational tactic by the wife. No nookie time until your team starts blocking and getting some Daniel Jones some protection, or Tyrod Taylor this weekend. Here is Stephon Diggs. So there was an issue on the sideline last weekend in London. Stephon Diggs wasn't happy. I guess he was more upset at himself from the way that people said it than he was yelling at his teammates. But here is Stephon Diggs, thankful for Josh Allen defending him the other day.
Obviously, I'm thankful to have a quarterback that have my back in every instance, especially considering people don't know what's going on on the sideline. They're not on the sideline. I mean, people don't hear. People just see. And it's easy to react however you want to draw whatever conclusion you want from what you saw.
Carlos, you probably had a friend that you know they're in like a relationship and you know it's probably just not a healthy relationship, but then when they go out for dinner with another couple, you would think they're the greatest couple in the world and that everything's going on fine, right?
I'm sure friends look at me the same way.
Yeah. Well, I've met your wife before.
Yeah, no.
You guys seem to have a very good relationship. She keeps you in line.
Oh, yeah. And I get out of line a lot. So it's a lot of work behind the scenes for her, and I feel bad.
Every time I see Carlos' wife, I go up to her and I say, you deserve a medal for having to put up with Carlos Ortiz.
She has more medals than I do.
I apologize for what you have to put up with. But anyway, that's what this Stephon Diggs situation feels like. You know something was wrong this offseason with Josh Allen, Stephon Diggs, or Stephon Diggs and Sean McDermott. And now they're putting up the front that everything is okay. And everything may be fine, but it's not as good as it once was. And everyone's starting to realize something's up. And it may not be as bad as we think it is, but when there's so much uncertainty and ambiguity there, it raises questions and it raises people to be curious and maybe make it worse than what it is. And then every little thing that you do turns out to be a bigger situation. Like, for example, if you're a husband and you leave without your wedding ring on because you're just going to the grocery store and someone's like, oh, you don't have your wedding ring on. Is everything fine at home? Yeah, I'm just a schmuck and I forgot to put my wedding ring on my finger. It may not be a big deal, or it actually could be a big deal. Let's go to Justin Herbert. They go up against the Cowboys on Monday Night Football, and he was asked if he'll be limited because of this finger injury.
I think there's so much going on during the game that you're probably not going to be worrying about it too much. I think you're just going to be worrying about not getting tackled or not taking those hits. So whether it is a scramble, it's about being safe, getting down, and that's in the back of your mind.
So I'm going to ask this on Friday, and then we'll circle back to it on Monday. Right now, the Dallas Cowboys are on the road. They're a 2-point favorite up against the Chargers. Where do we lean on the spread? I'll start with you, Carlos.
I'm taking the Cowboys.
So you're laying the 2 points with the Cowboys?
Yeah, I'm laying the points.
Stu? Cowboys and Chargers. Cowboys a 2-point favorite.
I can't bet on the Chargers. I have to go Cowboys.
See, guys? Vegas is looking at you two like sheeps. That's what they're doing, and I'm going to be the lion here. This is what's happening. Vegas is putting this spread Dallas at 2. Oh, Dallas just got emasculated up against the San Francisco 49ers. The Chargers, they stink. They have so much talent, but they can't get it together. Brandon Staley is just a stupid coach in this league, which he is. And I think Vegas is trying to say, it's a low spread. We're begging you to take the Cowboys. On Friday, I will plus the 2 points right now mentally with the Chargers, and we'll circle back in on that on Monday when we preview the game. But I don't only think the Chargers are alive in this game. Right now, I think the Chargers win the game outright. How about them Cowboys? You drama Dallas choking Cowboys. Wouldn't it be the most Cowboy thing in the world to be 3-3? But after you beat 3 terrible teams in the Patriots, the Giants, and the Jets, everyone's like, oh, go Dallas. Dallas is going to be wonderful. Oh, Dallas is a force to be reckoned with. Gelb, you're an idiot. Oh, Channing Crowder, you're a moron for all the things you said about Dak Prescott on the Zach Gelb show. And look at the Cowboys right now. The cockroaches of Cowboys fans. They're on the verge of getting exterminated once again. And we didn't even have to wait till January to do so this year. because you know it and I know it. The Cowboys are just not a Super Bowl contender. They all teased us, though, early in the season. They were like dancing. They were like, oh, we're really good. We're going to be fun. We're going to be wonderful. This is a dominant defense. Oh, this offense is good. Oh, Dak's coming together. Dak's going to be a great quarterback. And look where we are now. Cowboys 3-2. Chargers 2-2. I kind of think those Chargers are going to put the Cowboys down to 3-3. Hate to see it. Here is a funny exchange. Nick Castellanos was interviewed after a big-time game once again as the Phillies advance, and they're dancing on their own. Well, they do have a partner here in the NLCS. It will be the Arizona Diamondbacks, but let's not ruin a good song. This was an interview with Nick Castellanos on the field with TBS.
Nick, nobody in Major League history has hit 2 home runs on back-to-back postseason games, but you just did, and you guys are headed to the NLCS.
Where's the question in that?
There's no question.
Well, thank you for telling me.
I thought you'd be happy with that.
I am, man, but we got 8 more wins.
Nick Castellanos, it's funny, because on the field, he's like Mr. Personality, right? He was the player that was standing at second base earlier in this series, and everyone thought he was giving the middle finger to his own dugout, but it was his ring finger saying, hey, let's go win a ring this year. And then you see that, Nick Castellanos, and we all remember Nick Castellanos with the Brenneman when he was apologizing for the homophobic slur, and then it's like, oh, Castellanos swinging a drive deep to left, and he's like, I apologize for the awful things that I said. And now anytime there's a bad moment in the world, Nick Castellanos is always linked, and people always put out that spoof of the Castellanos home run when someone's apologizing and trying to give a mea culpa. And then you hear Nick Castellanos in interviews, and he just wants no part of them. And I appreciate that because that's the biggest slam dunk thing in the world. You're on top of the world right now after the NLDS that you just had, and the guy's basically telling you how great you are, and you could just, you don't need a question there. You just go, yeah, it's wonderful, great team, blah, blah, blah. And he goes, is there a question there? I respect how committed to being a douche at times Nick Castellanos is. I really do. And I say that in a polite way out of admiration for Nick Castellanos. Let's go to Coach Prime, Deion Sanders. Travis Hunter is expected to be back for the game tonight. They're going to monitor him in pregame warmups. But this is a Friday night kick at 10 p.m. Eastern. And Coach Prime isn't happy with it, even though it's 7 p.m. Pacific. He doesn't like late kickoffs.
Makes these 8 o'clock games. They're the dumbest thing ever.
I know. It's those fellas over the television
stupidest thing ever invented in life. Who wants to stay up to 8 o'clock for a darn game?
You wait till we do it.
What about the West Coast?
Yes.
I mean, the East Coast. Do they even care about ratings or anybody watching it?
I know.
You wait. What are we supposed to do with? I'm sorry, I'm bidding. What are we supposed to do with the kids all day until 8 o'clock?
Yeah. Wait till we're on the road.
What are we supposed to do all day until 8 o'clock? So what you supposed to do in the hotel? Yep. What you supposed to do all day?
If when we have a game like that on the road, we get home at 5 o'clock in the morning.
Right.
Yeah.
Thank God we're not going to be in this conference.
Oh, that's wonderful. So what I love about that is you have the coach of Colorado who's in Mountain Time, and this game is being played in Mountain Time tonight. So that's an 8 o'clock kick. Like, that's not that late on a Friday. And then they're going up against Stanford, who is Pacific Time, which is 7. So if you're a Colorado or Stanford fan, that's a pretty damn good kickoff. But here is Coach Prime, who just gets it, and he goes, we know our fans are going to tune in. We got to cater more to the fans on the East Coast. And that, to me, is so funny. Because when you're an East Coast guy doing national radio, and we talk a lot of West Coast sports, we get so many lame critics in our business that don't actually listen and just want to be critical, and they go, oh, CBS Sports Radio is an East Coast network. Oh, they never pay attention to the West Coast. And I'm like, oh, really? Where does Bill Ryder do his show from? Oh, the West Coast. Where does Jim Rome, the legendary Jim Rome, the franchise of this network, where does he do his show from? The West Coast. So it's not as if we only have East Coast people here at the network. So it's funny to me that the guy that's coaching in Mountain Time is like, oh, we need to be more concerned about the East Coast folks. I love that. Coach Prime, if you want to be a program director for a national radio network, we will definitely welcome you here. All righty, let's go to Spencer Strider on the Braves playoff loss. They're now out of the postseason after having the most wins in the regular season.
You look at the playoff format and everything. I mean, you don't need to be a great team all year. You need to get to the playoffs, and then it's a different game. And we did a lot of good things in the regular season, but ultimately we got to find a way to make the next step in the postseason. I'm sure there's a lot of Braves fans out there that aren't happy, and they have every right to be that way. And we got nobody to blame but ourselves. And for me personally, I wasn't good enough.
No excuses. I like that answer from Spencer Strider. We'll talk more about the Braves coming up in about 6 minutes with Tom Glavine, Hall of Fame pitcher, who will join us right here on CBS Sports Radio. And finally, if you weren't watching this game last night, you missed an all-time ending between West Virginia and Houston. Let's listen up to the Cougars' Hail Mary on the Cougars Radio Network, the Houston Cougars.
Back to pass, Donovan Smith. Smith steps up in the pocket, unloads it, throws it all the way downfield into the end zone, tipped, and it is caught by the Cougars, caught for a touchdown, unbelievable, caught by Stephon Johnson. The ball was tipped up in the air, and the Cougars win the game on the final play. Unreal.
There is nothing like a game that you think is over, and then the next thing you know, you win. That rush is just crazy. And when you have the play-by-play announcer go, unbelievable, you just felt all the emotions go down from the pit of the floor, then all the way up to the top of his brain saying, I can't believe we just won this game. Alrighty, that's a news brief. It is the Zach Gelb Show on CBS Sports Radio. A lot to react to with the Atlanta Braves going down in the NLDS once again to the Philadelphia Phillies. We'll talk some postseason baseball with the Hall of Fame pitcher, Tom Glavine, next.
You're in a 5-minute break. Four minutes, 30 seconds remaining. Four minutes remaining. Three minutes, 30 seconds remaining. Three minutes remaining. Two minutes, 30 seconds remaining. Two minutes remaining. One minute, 30 seconds remaining. 1 minute remaining. $45 seconds remaining. $30 seconds remaining. $15 seconds. Break ends in 5 seconds.
You're listening to the Zach Gelb Show.
You can stream the NFL on Westwood One for free, sponsored by AutoZone all season long. You can listen to every Westwood One broadcast of the NFL live on the NFL app by asking Alexa to open Westwood One Sports, or on the Odyssey app. Get in the zone, AutoZone. The free AutoZone Fix Finder service can help you find a fix for free. Get in the zone, AutoZone. Restrictions apply. Let's go out to the guest line right now. We'll chat some playoff baseball, and we'll do so with a MLB legend in the Hall of Fame, played for the Atlanta Braves, World Series MVP, and that is the great Tom Glavine here with us back on the Zach Gelb Show on CBS Sports Radio. Tom, always appreciate the time. Thanks for it. How are you?
I'm doing well, Zach. How you doing?
Well, I'm doing fantastic. So we knew that the Braves had this great regular season. The expectation was to get back to the World Series and win it. They've met their kryptonite once again in the Philadelphia Phillies, and they go down in 4 games. Just how did you react to that one last night?
Well, listen, I'm surprised as anybody, right? I mean, you look at the season the Braves had, and like I said to people all the time, I know postseason obviously is tough, and it's not necessarily always the best team that wins in a short series, right? If a team gets hot, then another team's in trouble. But having said all that, I always ended it with, I'm not going to bet against the Braves. They just had too good a team, too deep a team, and I think they were the odds-on favorite. Unfortunately, to your point, the Phillies had a little bit better series. Their superstars rose to the occasion and really made the difference in that series. So, it was a tough ending to a great season for the Braves, and it's something that they're, unfortunately, and I've experienced it enough in my lifetime too. They're going to have to, live with that, deal with that over the course of the winter, and find a way to put it behind them and be ready to go next year.
You live in it both ways, winning a World Series, and we know the Braves have won a World Series, and then people expecting more. Just what advice would you give to this Braves team moving forward so they go get another championship?
That's just the thing. You got to keep giving yourself chances. Listen, it was frustrating for the teams that I was a part of in the early 90s when, we lost in 91, we lost in 92, we lost in 93. But you keep giving yourself chances. And to me, that's the thing, right? As a player, you want to have a chance every year, and you hope it goes well or hope it goes right for you at least one time, which, again, in my case, it did. But you got to keep giving yourself the opportunity. The only way you're going to do that is to approach each and every year as its own thing, right? You show up for spring training a year after you've lost, a bitter playoff series, whether it be in the first round like this or in the World Series. To me, it doesn't matter. You lost. When you show up, you got to find a way to put that behind you. There's nothing you can do about what happened last year. You can learn from it, but you can't do anything to change it. So all you can do is take what you learn, try to apply it to the next season, and then go out there and bust your butt and try to give yourself another opportunity come October of that season and roll the dice again, see what happens.
Tom Glavine here with us. The Orlando Arcia situation is fascinating to me because he said, attaboy, the Phillies used that as motivation, and then I thought that the Braves really let that get to them and become a bigger deal than what it actually was. And last night, he's going at it with Phillies fans. Were you disappointed in the way that Orlando handled that entire thing?
I mean, look, I think I wasn't really sure exactly what happened. I had just heard that he said something, and my initial reaction is, why? Why do you allow that to happen, right? Why do you say something that the other team or the other player, whoever it's directed toward, can potentially use for motivation? You don't need that, right? No, I think the circumstances were a little bit different than I thought. My understanding, it was something that was said in the clubhouse. And I think in the clubhouse, you always want that to be your sanctuary a little bit. But hey, at the same time, if the clubhouse is open and reporters are in there, who knows, right? That's why you got to be careful about what you say, and particularly in the postseason. I mean, I know that's something that so many of those teams I was a part of, that Bobby was the manager. We worked really hard at trying to stay away from those opportunities. I'm not saying that we were 100% successful, but our mantra was always keep your mouth shut, keep your head down, go into town, win your series, and get out. And don't give that team on the other side, any more reason to want to beat you than they already have. And look, who knows how much motivation I don't know how much motivation Bryce Harper needs to have a big series against the Atlanta Braves, right? Particularly in the postseason. But, I think it's probably fair to say it didn't hurt matters for him any.
It was just so bizarre to me last night, though. You're in an elimination game, and he's turning around and getting into it with the fans, and Acuna almost, he did grab him in that video. He's like, well, what are you doing, pretty much? It was weird that the focus, I don't want to say wasn't on the game, but he was even, responding to the Phillies fans.
Well, I mean, to your point, if he's even engaging with them for a second, then his focus is taken away from what he should be doing, right? And I think that's the risky run when you have those kinds of situations. I think that's it's like obviously done so many interviews now here in the postseason and talking about different things. And, one of the things that inevitably comes up when people start talking about the postseason and trying to break things down is, would you rather have talent or experience, right? And look, I'd love to have a combination of both, but I think I'm gonna err on the side of experience just because of stuff like that, right? Things like that. When you've been experienced in the postseason, you know how to deal with that stuff. I know for me personally, my first postseason, it wasn't so much the games that was hard to deal with. It was everything else. It was all the you're flying your family in and out of cities, you're getting hotel rooms, you're getting tickets. There's way more media than you're used to being around. You're having to deal with that, and all the while you're trying to prepare and play games. And I would say that the biggest thing in terms of having that playoff experience is learning how to deal with all the noise and the distraction that goes around the game. And when you learn how to deal with all that stuff, it makes it a lot easier to have your focus on the baseball game and just ignore all that other noise.
Tom Glavine here with us. So you see the Orioles go down, the Braves go down, the Dodgers go down. I know that the Astros are still alive, and every year they're in the ALCS, it feels like. A lot of people are now saying maybe this format change isn't a good one, and you win all these regular season games, and you have a lot of these teams go home. Personally, I would say just do what the Astros do. Do you have a problem with the format, and you think they need to tinker with it?
I mean, what I don't know. What do you tinker, right? Hey, you guys won your division and you lost because you had off days. We're gonna fix that. All right, how do you fix that? What do you do, right? I mean, I don't understand. I know. I go back to some of my days of playing, right? And we didn't have this off time, right? It like my first few years of playing in the postseason, it was the LCS, and that was it. So, you had a couple of days off at the end of the season, and you were right back in the soup again. There's something to be said for that. There's no doubt about that. But and I think every manager who is in a situation where they're trying to maneuver through off days will tell you that's the biggest challenge, is keeping guys ready. Keeping guys, kind of geared up and having that intensity that you had to win your division in the first place. But I still say that the format favors the teams that win their division. You have home field advantage. You have off time. You have time to get your guys healthy. You have time to get your rotation set. But having said that, too, I don't think that not having those off days is clearly the downside to those teams that have had to experience that either, right? I mean, to me, I think the format is fine. If there was one thing I would look at doing, is I would look at reseeding the teams after round one, and again, in this case, to me, and I'm not saying it doesn't matter, you got to beat everybody, but to some extent it matters a little bit, right? Okay, so the Phillies win and Arizona wins. Well, if the Braves have the best record of baseball, they should be playing the lower of those two seeds,
Yeah,
right? So
makes
to
sense.
me, I
Like
think
football.
to me, that's something I think baseball needs to look into. But as far as the off days go, listen, I would much rather be a team that wins my division, has off days, and can get everybody healthy and get everything set and take my chances with that versus having to win an extra series.
Talking to Tom Glavine, do you feel as if we're on a collision course with these final four teams of Phillies and Astros once again for the second year in a row in the World Series?
I mean, who knows? It's hard. Look, I don't know how you can discount anybody at this stage of the game, right? I mean, the Phillies, I think, obviously are a team that maybe has, a little bit, or at least on the side of the most star power. Houston certainly has their share of star power. The Rangers and Arizona are two really good teams that most people don't know anything about. As much as it's a surprise to most people that, don't follow either of those teams that they're where they are, it's probably not a surprise to their fan base. I think you look at the Rangers had an unbelievable offensive year. The only thing that overshadowed it was the Braves' offensive year.
Yeah.
So they're a really good offensive ball club, and their pitching kind of comes together. I know they got some guys banged up, but their pitching has been good enough to give them a chance. And I think Arizona's a team that was pretty streaky during the course of the year, but when they were on the good side, I don't think there was anybody that really was excited about playing them. And they're a team right now that clearly is on the good side. But again, they're a really good club, a really good offensive club and pitching club that most people, myself included, can't tell you a whole lot about them.
Yeah, and I look at the Phillies, they just have such great chemistry right now. And, they are chasing to get back to that World Series and correct the wrong from last year. But then you look at that Arizona team, you're right. They had a strong start, and then they were kind of forgotten about. And they have a good mix of youngsters and veterans, and no one's expecting anything out of them. I think that makes them ease up a little bit. And I think this could be a fascinating NLCS because all the pressure is now on Philadelphia to get this thing done.
No, I agree. And again, it's really hard to factor in what the expectations of winning does to teams, does to players, right? The Braves, again, clearly the team that had the bullseye on the back, right? Everybody expected the Braves to win. And there's a ton of pressure that goes along with those expectations. And conversely, when you're a team that nobody really says much about or doesn't give you much of a chance, you kind of go out there with that carefree attitude, like, truly, like, what do we have to lose? Yeah. Nobody expected us to be there, right? So, I think there is some benefit in that, of being that team that kind of nobody's really paying attention to. Now, I'm not saying for a second that Philadelphia is not paying attention to Arizona. Of course they are. You get to this stage of the game, anybody can beat anybody. But to your point, I think Philadelphia is the clear favorite in that series. And you just don't know how teams guys, mostly individually, how guys are going to react to being the favorite.
Last thing I'll ask you has nothing to do with the playoffs, but for Ohtani with his future, if you had to take a guess right now, where do you feel like he'll be playing next year?
I think it's a really hard call right now. I think those waters have been muddied really badly now with his injury, right? Like, I don't know. I mean, it's the kind of thing is he going to be able to come back and hit and not pitch, or is he going to have to take the whole year off? I mean, I don't know enough about it, but I mean, I think obviously the bigger market teams are always going to be in the mix. But I think that it's going to be an interesting thing. I mean, surely from the pitching side, we've seen a lot of guys in the last couple of years that have been traded or signed coming off of Tommy John. So I don't think teams are overly concerned about the Tommy John aspect of it. But I think for me, the more intriguing side is he even going to be able to play next year? And if he's not, how does that factor into a team signing him knowing they're getting nothing for a year?
Now, I know he's not a pitcher, but you saw Harper had the Tommy John, and look, he goes to first base. They used him in that DH role. The thing I wonder, because, if he could hit next year, and then when he wants to return to pitching a year from now, do they maybe say to him, let's use you in a closer role or put you in a relief role instead of being a starter? I wonder if they make that change with him.
I mean, that's possible. Listen, I think it's going to be hard. Listen, and I know people don't like hearing this because, he is such an exciting player to watch on both sides of the ball. There's going to come a time where he's going to have to make a choice, I think. It's just too demanding to do what he's doing. Now, Is it the kind of thing where it alleviates some of that stress on him to be a closer? I don't know, maybe, but it may be the volume, right? But if you're out there DHing every night and it's weighing on the back of your mind that at some point in time you're going to have to come in that game as a closer, mentally, that's a lot for 162 games a year. So who knows? But I just can't see him being able to continue doing what he's doing for the foreseeable future. I think he can do it for a little while, but I think there's going to come a time where just physically it's going to get tougher and tougher to do both of those things.
By the way, you think the Dodgers send the Braves like a gift basket? Because no one's talking about the Dodgers losing after what happened with Atlanta.
Well, I mean, I'm sure they are in LA, obviously, but no, I mean, I think both of those teams, there's some questions they have to answer, right? I mean, look, they're both super good teams.
Yeah.
But kind of fell to the same fate. They took the team time off, and they weren't the same team coming back that they were after that time off. And again, that's always a concern. And clearly, there's still some more questions out there as to, if you're the team that wins your division in this format, how do you keep your guys sharp?
He is the great Hall of Fame pitcher, and Tom Glavine. Tom, always appreciate your insight. Thanks so much for doing this. Enjoy the weekend.
All right, Zach, have a great weekend. Appreciate it.
There you go. Tom Glavine joining us right here on the Zach Gelb Show on CBS Sports Radio. Let's react to this Orlando Arcia situation on the other side. Also, one running back in the NFL that could be on the move, or one pundit is saying that team should trade him. We'll tell you who that is on the other side. But first up, standing by with the latest CBS Sports Radio update. Here he is, the Act Man, Rich Ackerman.
CBS Sports Radio. Sports Flash.
Well, week 6 of the NFL season features a couple of quarterbacks on the sidelines. The Giants' Daniel Jones will miss his first game of the season due to a neck injury, so it's Tyrod Taylor who will take the quarterbacking reins of the Giants against his former mates on Sunday night. Deshaun Watson out for a second time because of a shoulder injury as the Browns get ready to take on the 49ers. Colorado took the college football world by storm in September, winning their first 3 games under Deion Sanders. They've cooled off a bit lately, dropping 2 of the last 3, but look to build on last week's win when they host 1-4 Stanford tonight. Top-ranked Georgia will take on Vanderbilt in Nashville. The defending champs seem to have awakened in last week's win. Tomorrow they'll have to wake up early, an 11 a.m. local start time, and head coach Kirby Smart guaranteed that won't be a factor.
Steak and eggs, get ready to go play. I mean, we've done it before. We got to do it again, and we'll do some biorhythm prep the day before and try to get them up early, consecutive days, and get them used to it. And they're young, and they can handle it.
Brewers starter Brandon Woodruff will miss most of 2024, if not all of next season, after undergoing shoulder surgery. I'm Rich Ackerman.
CBS Sports Radio is everywhere, at home, in your car, and of course on your phone and tablet. Find us on your local affiliate, SiriusXM Channel 158, or the free Odyssey app.
CBS Sports Radio.
You're in a 5-minute break. Four minutes, 30 seconds remaining. Four minutes remaining. Three minutes, 30 seconds remaining. 3 minutes remaining. Two minutes, 30 seconds remaining. Two minutes remaining. One minute, 30 seconds remaining. One minute remaining. Forty-five seconds remaining. Thirty seconds remaining. Fifteen seconds. Break ends in 5 seconds.
He's live. He's nationwide on CBS Sports Radio.
The owners and the commissioner are just looking like fools. They're looking like clowns in a circus. Ringling Brothers and Barnum Bailey Circus may have shut down, but baseball's still open. And the commissioner's saying, step right up. Let's just have this go as long as we want when everyone continues to slaughter baseball for their incompetence in getting a deal done. And Rob Manfred's sitting there with this big fat red clown nose on saying, look at me, look at me, look at me. Last week we'll have a season. This week, oh, I'm not 100% sure we'll have a season. What is the message, Rob? Be honest with us, Rob.
This is the Zach Gelb Show. Here's your host, Zach Gelb.
Is this a little Bad Bunny on a Friday? Am I right on Name This Tune? I can't name you the song, but I can at least name you the artist here, Carlos.
Hey, you're halfway there.
This makes me feel like I want to go clubbing tonight. Maybe spend a little night out on the town here.
It is Friday.
In the Big Apple. I actually have one of my best friend's 30th birthday party tonight. So doing that, he rented out a bar/concert venue. He loved to rap, and he made an album when he was in college.
No kidding.
And now it's the 10-year anniversary of that album. So for his 30th birthday, he's doing a 30th birthday celebration, 10-year anniversary of the rap album, where he's going to perform like 6 or 7 songs, and we're all going. I have to buy tickets for this thing tonight.
Oh, that's cool. But imagine you get to throw a listening party for your birthday party.
Yeah,
Like,
he's
that's
performing
lit.
live. They got like a band and everything. He's going to rap over the band, like a bunch of friends and stuff like that. So it's going to be cool.
Now, are you obligated to like cheer and applaud him even if it's a bad song?
Well, here's the thing. So if I was small, yeah, I wouldn't stick out like a sore thumb. So no one would realize if I'm like, boo, you suck, you're horrible, off the stage. What are we doing here? But since I am a gargantuan human being, I have no choice but to look like I am a Swiftie, pretty much.
Yeah, you're just like bopping your head because you're the tallest guy there. Like, why is Zach tying his shoes so many times? Because he's booing every time he ducks down.
Maybe I need to find like a couch in the venue and just sit down and kind of look like I'm a VIP so I could avoid any true human emotions while that's going on. So that's what I'm doing on this Friday evening. We go right from the show to some dinner, to a little pregame, and then right to the venue tonight. So you should come, Carlos, if you want. Stu, you're more than welcome as well. I don't think, imagine Stu saying to his girlfriend, hey, you want to go see one of Zach's friends who's rapping tonight? Stu's girlfriend would basically say, all right, lose my number, lose this relationship, right?
Yeah, especially since we have Devils tonight. That's a no.
You doing double date tonight? Is that what you meant?
Well, we have Devils game.
Devils.
Yes.
I thought you said doubles.
No, doubles.
Like,
yeah, you made the wrong choice.
Stu there for a second on CBS Sports Radio.
Stu's really partying on a Friday.
You in, Carlos? You coming?
Yeah, dude, I'll change out of his jersey. I'll come right back.
I feel like Carlos is actually serious.
I am. If you're serious, I'm serious.
Yeah, feel free.
Okay,
just got to buy a ticket. It's like $15.
Oh, that's nothing with our Odyssey money.
You know what? I will pay for your ticket if you really want to come.
That's very generous. I'll take you up on an offer. You don't need to. I have my own $15, but I'll be there.
I know, yeah, but come on. You save your $15. I'll pay for the $15 for the suffering that you're going to have to go through tonight at this show.
No, I bought my head, too. I'm like, yeah, this song's awesome.
Well, I think you'd be great for this because it's the stranger coming to the party that no one knows, and it's going to be Carlos Ortiz, who's never had a bad day in his life, or if you have, you've never shown it here, at least at CBS Sports Radio, and Carlos is a very energetic, exuberant human being where I do feel as if you are like the best hype guy to bring along to maybe make this party a little bit more happening if it needs a little extra seasoning of fun here.
Yeah, dude, I'm all about like life at a party and libations being had, you know? Like, because listen, life is short. You better live it up now because we only got like grains of the sand left in the hourglass.
Yeah, and the Braves aren't having any fun right now, so we'll do the cheesy radio transition there. The Braves aren't partying right now. The Braves aren't dancing on their own. And I really think what happened here with the Atlanta Braves is they weren't ready for the moment, and they knew that the Phillies had their number, and the little thing that disrupted the apple cart got into their brain here. And this whole Orlando Arcia situation is like one of the more overblown things that I've ever seen in my time of covering sports. So Harper gets doubled off here in game 2. And he gets tagged out with the double play. And I guess in the locker room, Orlando Arcia was basically saying, attaboy Harper, which is something that's not a big deal. But if you're Philadelphia, if you're a Philadelphia fan, you use that as motivation. And you use only like one small thing, even if it's minuscule and innocuous, to kind of, I don't want to say motivate you and pump you up, but make you push the loss away very quickly, because sometimes when teams lose, they dwell on the loss and they can't compartmentalize it. And the next thing you know, it carries over into game 3. And Harper in game 3 has the 2 home runs, stares down at Orlando Arcia when he's rounding second base, going to third to eventually go home. And that was a moment where I know Harper's sitting there doing the throat slash at home plate, but it felt like the series ended in game 3. And if the Braves were mentally tough, they would have bounced back in a tough environment where now the Phillies are 10-2 in the postseason at home in the last 2 years, and they would have found a way to get the job done last night. But I wonder where the focus was of the Braves, and they're talking about how it was off-the-record comment and all that. Like, you're in the locker room with hundreds and hundreds of media members there. If he said, like, hey, it's off the record, then someone violated something. But if someone just heard him say that, I don't want to hear how this clubhouse is this sanctuary and all that stuff. And it's almost as if that comment derailed the Braves in the postseason because they got so worked up in defending the comments. You needed some leader on the Braves to say, bleep that. Who cares? Attaboy, Harper. You messed up. And now, I know we lost game 3, but we're going to come back. We're going to kick your ass. We're going to beat you in game 4. Then we're going to go back to Atlanta, and we're going to find a way to win this series. That's what the Braves needed to do. Or they didn't just need to feed into this becoming more of a distraction. And if last night, seeing that with the Braves, I was kind of furious. Now, I was not rooting for the Braves. I'm not a Phillies fan. I'm a Mets fan. But the Braves have become obnoxious. But I kind of was thinking, if that was my Mets, and that was Orlando Arcia on the Mets, and in an elimination game, you're turning around to a Phillies fan and doing like, nah. And you're trying to start something with the Phillies fan because they're yelling at you and getting in your head. That's just a sign of weakness. You are a player. In that setting, the fans are coming to see your team or the other team play. And this may sound condescending, but the player is above the fan in that situation where the fan is supposed to try to get into your head. But as a player, you can't allow that to happen. And Orlando Arcia allowed the great Philadelphia fans, who have one of the true home field advantages in sports, which is not a common thing anymore, to get into the head of a player. And Stu, that was so alarming to me. I don't know your take on this, Stu, but it's crazy to me how in an elimination game, a story in the aftermath of game 2 still was marinating in the brain of Orlando Arcia through game 3 and then in game 4, and he took time when he's sitting on the dugout next to Ronald Acuna to respond to a fan when all of his focus should have been on the field with what's going on and trying to come back and in a game that was winnable, win it and send it back to Atlanta. It's almost inconceivable to me how long this story did go on throughout this series where the Philly fans going to get on you, and Orlando and Travis d'Arnaud and all these guys just kept addressing it. They never nipped it in the bud.
Yeah, you almost want to get over it. It's crazy that it would go on for so long and such a big moment too. They've played this whole season and we're the best team the entire season and by confident. Far and very good. None of this the entire season. Then you get to game 163, 164, and then it's a complete mess.
It's an absolute mess. And now Braves fans are going to be thinking about this one the entire season, and you just got to walk away just being absolutely annoyed with this baseball team. I saw that Bart Scott, by the way, to quickly transition, was on ESPN earlier this morning, and he was advocating the Giants to trade Saquon Barkley and for the Ravens to trade and give up a second-round pick for him. At first I go, in a running back market that is not robust and teams not looking to trade for running backs and commit to them long-term, there's been some exceptions, right? I know they weren't traded, but Nick Chubb got the extension. Christian McCaffrey got an extension, then got traded. And recently, Jonathan Taylor just got an extension. But with Saquon being hurt right now, it's rare then to see a team have to give up a second-round pick for a position that is more by committee than a bell cow back. And also, this guy's in the final year of his contract. But the more and more I think about it, the Giants are going nowhere. Even if you extend Saquon 3 years, you're never going to probably be ready to win when Saquon's still in his prime. And Saquon's always dealing with injuries. If the Giants get a second-round pick for Saquon Barkley, with how miserable this season is, the Giants should try to accumulate as many draft picks as possible because the Giants are going for as close as a complete reset that you're going to have to go through this offseason, where you're going to keep your coach, you're going to keep your general manager, but you're going to be looking for a new quarterback. You have some foundational pieces in Dexter Lawrence and then also Andrew Thomas. But outside of that, there's not a lot with this Giants team, and it wouldn't make sense in the year of 2023 and then 2024 to go get a deal done this offseason with Saquon Barkley. Now, I don't know if the Ravens would give up a second-round pick or if any team is going to give up a second-round pick right now for Saquon, but if Joe Schoen gets that phone call, how could you say no?
You're in a 5-minute break. 4 minutes, 30 seconds remaining. Four minutes remaining. Three minutes, 30 seconds remaining. Three minutes remaining. Two minutes, 30 seconds remaining. Two minutes remaining. One minute, 30 seconds remaining. One minute remaining. Forty-five seconds remaining. Thirty seconds remaining. Fifteen seconds. Break ends in 5 seconds.
He's live. He's nationwide on CBS Sports Radio. This is the Zach Gelb Show. here's your host, Zach Gelb.
What's happening? Welcome on in. Friday edition of the Zach Gelb Show on CBS Sports Radio, hour number 3 of our radio program. 60 minutes to play. Ryan Horvat from BetMGM tonight will join us. We're going to have to make fun of Ryan Horvat because last week he was talking up the Dallas Cowboys. Oh, they're alive. They're going to win the game outright. And now we need to pretty much celebrate and dance on his grave after the Cowboys do go down. And I was able to get the victory on the week up against Ryan Horvat. Not that it was a great week of picking games for me, but I just did better than Ryan Horvat. So we'll get some college games from him, also NFL as well. In 20 minutes from now, Ryan Horvat from BetMGM tonight via BetQL. But right now we do this segment every Monday and Friday right here on CBS Sports Radio. 5 questions, 5 answers. We call it Onsides, Offsides. Carlos Ortiz, hit it!
Zach's taking on the most polarizing issues in sports. Which side of the line of scrimmage will he end up on?
Offside. Defense number 69.
It's Onsides, Offsides with Zach Gelb on CBS Sports Radio.
All righty, Stu. What we got cooking today?
All right, Zach. Well, Texans quarterback C.J. Stroud has turned heads so far in his first 5 games as he's completed 61% of his passes, has 7 touchdowns and 0 interceptions while averaging 292 passing yards per game.
That's pretty good if you ask me.
Not too bad for the second overall pick. Now, according to ESPN's Dan Orlovsky, the Raiders, my Raiders, they tried to trade up with the Bears for the first pick before Chicago eventually dealt it to the Panthers, and they would have taken Stroud over Bryce Young, according to Orlovsky. Now, onsides or offsides, trading up for Stroud would have been the right move for Vegas.
So it's onsides, and here's why. When the Raiders made the decision to move on from Derek Carr, I didn't have a problem with it. But you needed to bring in the next face of your franchise, the next guy that would signal to your fan base, this is the guy that's going to lead us into this next chapter of trying to turn down the Raiders. And when you go from Derek Carr to Jimmy Garoppolo, it's like, did we even get better? Like, at least Carr was healthy. Garoppolo's always injured. Sure, Garoppolo's won more games than Carr and, over the last few years. But isn't Garoppolo more of a product of the system in San Francisco than really being a good quarterback? So that was a move to me where it was so underwhelming. Because remember, the Raiders were thinking they were going to get Tom Brady. The Raiders were floated out there as a potential Aaron Rodgers destination. And that's really the one that's still mystifying to me. Why the Raiders, who had the relationship with the Packers from the Devontae Adams trade, where that got done pretty seamlessly. And Rodgers, remember, before it was officially was going to the Jets, where he announced that he wanted to go to the Jets, he was on McAfee and he was like, hey, I'm surprised another team that has a receiver that I used to play with didn't come and go get me. And he was surprised by that. So I don't get why the Raiders didn't further explore or make Aaron Rodgers the destination when he was getting traded to the AFC of Las Vegas. So to go from, okay, we're getting rid of Carr, which was decided before the end of last season when Carr left the team, and then it's you miss on Brady because he retires, you miss on Rodgers, and then you get to the draft and you end up already making the decision it's Jimmy Garoppolo, and you don't get your guy. It's like, what do we do here? You didn't get, even if you got better, you maybe got slightly better at that. You needed to make a move that provided hope for the future. Garoppolo was more so staying the same. So, Stroud would have been the right move for the Vegas Raiders onsides.
All right, so we talked a lot about George Kittle this week.
You better not be cursing here on this one.
Oh, I hope not.
Because I've worked with producers before that have randomly just dropped an F-bomb, whoever that could be. I forget the name of that producer. Yeah, I was sitting here, we were talking about Russell Westbrook, and the next thing you know, I forget who that producer was, and he dropped an F-bomb on the air. And I had to dump him. Usually it's the producer or the board op dumping the host or a caller that says something filled with jackassery. I had to sit there and slam the dump button on my own producer.
It's just an upset that it wasn't me being the producer that had something bad to say about Russell Westbrook. It had to be the other person who is not named. Yeah, that's
true. That's the one thing. Now we're treating him as if he's like Robbie Rosenhaus.
What is he, Lord Voldemort? You can't say his name?
Yeah. It's Hot Take Hickey who dropped that F-bomb when talking about Russell Westbrook. That's the mystifying part to me about it still. is like, out of all the things Hickey gets annoyed about,
not the Colts.
You would, yeah, look how quick Stu was to jump down the throat of Hickey there. But you would believe that it would be Hickey basically telling me, like, bleep you, Gelb. I'm sick and tired of you giving me crap. Bleep you, bleep you. It was, oh, Russell Westbrook. Now, this guy's so obnoxious. Bleep that bleeping guy. And I was like, whoa. Okay. So we can move on with the question. Just don't curse there, Stu, because you're a nice person. I think you're well respected around here. You don't want to be known as the guy with the potty mouth on CBS Sports Radio.
Definitely not. Well, I'll leave that to George Kittle, who displayed a T-shirt under his jersey on Sunday that said F Dallas. On Thursday, Kittle told reporters that he expected to be fined, and, well, the NFL has come down on him. As ESPN's Jeremy Fowler has reported, the league has fined him $13,699 for his use of abusive language. Onsides or offsides, Kittle deserved to be fined for the T-shirt.
Do you want me to answer this as if I am a spokesperson for the NFL, or do you want my true thoughts on this?
Your true thoughts, please, Zach.
If I was running the NFL, if I was Roger Goodell, first off, I would get rid of that overrated chair that he has in his basement that we all saw during the pandemic. You're the commissioner of the National Football League. You should have a newer chair, and you could get a more comfortable chair than that one. That was a nice-looking chair. Probably was comfortable, but it just looked too old. You got to get a newer chair. I would not have fined him. I think that's good for the league. I know you can't embrace it as the commissioner, but I wouldn't be your normal commissioner. When you find someone for wearing an F Dallas shirt when he's clearly catering to the 49ers fans, that is almost as if you're saying, oh, we are the NFL, the no fun league. So I don't have a problem from it. I know people are going to say, oh, what about the children? What about the children? I'm sure your child has said worse than just F Dallas before. Trust me, I was a counselor and a division leader at a sleepaway camp for 7th and 8th grade boys for 2 summers. I heard some of the worst things come out of, just curse words that if I repeated on the radio, I would get fired. Is the right way to say this. Now, I don't want to be like Hot Take Hickey cursing up a storm here on CBS Sports Radio. So just having a shirt that says F Dallas, no big deal to me. I would not have fined George Kittle, but once again, I'm not the commissioner. But I would go offside there. I don't think he should have been.
Offside.
All right, so Chris Smart has gotten the better of Nick Saban the last couple of years.
Yeah, remember when he couldn't beat him?
Yeah, for all those years, and now finally the last 2 years, he finally has overtaken him. And according to the Crimson Tide head coach, there's another way that his former assistants, including Kirby Smart, have gotten the better of him of late.
And that's what I've always tried to do, is have a bunch of young people, evaluate them, see them go get other jobs, and then know that you would hire them back because you know who they are. Now, one of the disadvantages of having all these guys going out and getting jobs everywhere is they hire the guys before I get a chance to, like Dan Lanning. Dan Lanning was here as a GA. He went to Memphis or someplace, got a job. I was ready to hire him, and 2 days before I was going to hire him, Kirby hired him. So it kind of messes up your game plan a little bit when you got all these guys out there because they kind of know who the guys that you've had in the organization are that are the good ones, and they end up snatching them up before you get a chance to.
My favorite part of that, Stu, before you continue.
Yes.
I just looked up Dan Lanning's resume. He goes, oh, yeah, he went to Memphis or someplace. As if he didn't know where Dan Lanning went. He was the GA at Alabama. And then, yes, he was an inside linebackers coach and, I guess, the run game coordinator at Memphis from 2016 to 2017 before going to Georgia. But I love how salty Saban still is about losing Dan Lanning when he was a GA. And he goes, oh, yeah, this guy go to, like, Memphis or someplace. As if he was just throwing a random school out there. Come on, Coach. We all know that you knew he went to Memphis. I love that from Saban. That's a gem of a quote.
So
Saban
good.
and Belichick have really become good quotes.
Yeah.
With how much, like how little details they give. But when you get them on something that they're so salty about, and they're so dry and they're so monotone, but it's become very funny to hear Saban and Belichick command a media room.
Absolutely. Well, what do you think about this? Obviously, Saban's kind of gotten caught up to a little bit. By offsides or onsides, Saban will adjust to his competition catching up to him and will win another national championship at Alabama.
Yeah, I'm not going to be the blowhard that gets on a national radio show and go, oh, Nick Saban's never going to win a championship again. Then I'll start sounding like Paul Feinbaum, who just goes after Nick Saban and now is back in on Alabama after they had a good showing up against Texas A&M, where I would say, Paul, be like more consistent there. If you're going after Saban before the start of the year where you said if he doesn't win a national championship, people are going to look differently at Nick Saban, like what a dumb comment that is. And then after an A&M game where, quite frankly, I was more disappointed in A&M than impressed by Alabama, now Paul Feinbaum, whatever you want to call him, is back on the Saban bandwagon, which is crazy to me. But to answer your question, until he's retired, I'm still always going to think that Saban has a shot to win a national championship again at some point. I don't think it will happen this year because Alabama will suffer another loss and they won't make it to the college football playoff. But I will say Onsides that Saban will adjust to his competition, catching up to him, and will win another title before it's all said and done at Alabama.
All right, so Zion Williamson's career has gone off to a bit of an inauspicious start after a strong 2021 season where he averaged 27-7 in 61 games. The former first overall pick missed
27 DMs and 20 girls going after him is what
maybe
you're saying?
that too, yeah. It might have been. Well, points and rebounds we'll go with.
Is that Mariah Mills still tweeting about him and still posting about him?
Oh, I haven't seen anything lately.
I thought
I'm
she
sure
got
she
banned,
is.
actually.
Oh, really?
She got banned from Twitter and Instagram?
Yeah, I think Elon had enough and just said nope.
Well, it was at a point where it was like a story for a week and everyone's like, ooh, this is interesting. And then 2 months later, I see that she was still posting. I'm like, all right, enough. Like, enough is enough here. Anyway, Stu, you go back to the question. Sorry.
So after that strong season, he missed the entire 21-22 season and played just 29 games last season. Well, in Thursday's preseason game against the Rockets, Zion had just 4 points on 2 of 3 shooting in 22 minutes. And afterwards, head coach Willie Green said, quote, "We need to talk about it. We hadn't put any sort of half-court sets in for him yet, but we need to put the ball in his hands," end of quote. So onsides or offsides, Zion will ultimately live up to his expectations by winning an MVP and doing so in New Orleans.
An MVP of what? Like always getting injured, an MVP of not showing up, an MVP of going to the buffet table, an MVP of like sleeping with everyone in America? That's for MVP, yeah, sure, on sides. But if you're talking about an MVP on the basketball court, Stu, is that what you're asking me?
That is what I'm asking, yes.
Can the guy get through a season? Can he like live up to the hype for an entirety of a season instead of he's good in small doses, like 4 or 5 games dominant, then 4 or 5 games injured, then 4 or 5 games dominant, 4 or 5 games injured, then we don't see him for the rest of the season. So I will go offside here. The day that Zion Williamson wins an MVP is probably the day that I'm no longer hosting a radio show because it'll happen in some like video game 50 years from now when a kid's using a throwback player of like Zion Williamson just because of what happened at Duke and how much of a star he was at Duke.
Offside. All right, last season, LeBron James broke the NBA all-time scoring record. And according to Shaquille O'Neal, the King doesn't have any plans to stop there. Shaq told ESPN, quote, "He wants to take it to where the scoring record will never be broken for the next 60 to 70 years, end of quote. So onsides or offsides, LeBron should be prioritizing winning another championship ahead of just increasing his all-time scoring lead.
Can I just ask a question? I don't know if everyone listening could hear that, but I could see just what transpired. So you said that quote, and Carlos Ortiz forgot there was a microphone in front of his big fat face, and he was like, "Oh, God, this is terrible." What are you so upset about here?
Well, now I'm upset about the big fat face thing, but no.
I say that in love. That was big guy. That was just joking.
I'm kidding.
You look stunning in that Rangers jersey.
Yeah, if only stunning in the midsection. Come on, man. 60 to 70 years. I've had enough of this guy. I've really had enough of him.
LeBron?
Yeah, LeBron. I'm done with him. I've been done since that Fugazi championship in the bubble. So
stop.
Anything he says, I just boo down.
Don't be one of those Fugazi bubble championships.
The worst.
Stop. Oh, well, actually, I know where this is rooted in. You're lying to the audience right now.
How? No, I'm a man of integrity. I would never lie to them.
I have to call your integrity into question.
By all means.
You know what I smell right now? Smell a Chicago Bulls fan. That's what I smell.
Well, both things can be true. I am a Bulls fan.
But this is why I hate the whole GOAT debate in the NBA, and I think it's the dumbest thing that people do in radio, because you have people like you, who's a Bulls fan, that knows how great Michael Jordan is, and we all acknowledge that Michael Jordan is, right, number one. But then, to knock the King down, it's like, oh, everything he says is awful. Oh, it's terrible. And there's never a discussion here. The Bull fan treats LeBron James like he's a bum, and then the LeBron fan treats Michael Jordan like he's a bum, and there's no in between. There's no common, courtesy conversation. You have guys like you that are like,
no.
championship.
Don't lump me in with the rest of those heathens, all right? I'm unbiased here. I don't
you're not.
root against
You're a Bulls
LeBron.
fan.
I don't.
You
I'm
walk
a Bulls
around
fan,
with
but
the
that doesn't
Jordan
mean
jersey
I inherently
here.
root against LeBron. I can acknowledge his greatness. He really is the second greatest player of all time, and I don't say that as a slight. Not everybody can be number one. He's fantastic. I just think I get annoyed with everything that he says lately.
Look, do you root for? Well, I know the Bulls are bad now, but
no, they're awful. They haven't been relevant since Derrick Rose.
You're a Ranger fan, right? Which I'm okay with, but you're wearing a Wayne Gretzky jersey right now.
Gorgeous Wayne Gretzky 97 jersey.
You're a Jordan fan.
Yeah,
I feel like he just follows the teams with the goats.
I'm from Chicago, so I have two teams from Chicago, my Cubs and my Bulls. And I didn't watch hockey or football until I moved to New York, and I adopted the Giants and Rangers accordingly.
By the way, I liked your word of heathen.
Yeah,
I thought that was good.
Because these LeBron haters, these Jordan fans are heathens.
All right, anyway. LeBron should prioritize winning another championship ahead of increasing his all-time scoring lead. So, yeah, sure, onsides, but I will say, if you are focused on increasing your scoring lead, that would probably result in good team success for the Lakers and increases your chance of winning a championship. I'm not going to crush LeBron for this because I'm not a LeBron hater. LeBron does sometimes annoy me because he tries to be buddy-buddy with everybody and he never wants to criticize anybody. But I'm not going to stoop to the level of one Carlos Ortiz, who basically was just trying to start a bleep LeBron chant all around the CBS Sports Radio studios about 2 seconds ago. So I will go on sides on this, but I'm not actually irate with the comment by LeBron James or the thing that Shaquille O'Neal knows about LeBron James and however this was said. So there you go. Onside, offside right there. This is Zach Gelb Show on CBS Sports Radio. We'll take a break. We'll do some NFL picks. Also get some college plays next with Ryan Horvat from BetMGM tonight via BetQL.
You're in a 5-minute break. Four minutes, 30 seconds remaining. Four minutes remaining. Three minutes, 30 seconds remaining. Three minutes remaining. Two minutes, 30 seconds remaining. Two minutes remaining. 1 minute, 30 seconds remaining. One minute remaining. "45 seconds remaining. "30 seconds remaining. "15 seconds. Break ends in 5 seconds.
The Zach Gelb Show is on the air across the nation on CBS Sports Radio. Here's Zach Gelb.
You know, I didn't think Ryan Horvat was a Cowboys fan, but after last week, you would think he was Dak Prescott's biggest fan, getting on this show and telling our listening audience to put all their money in the world on the drama Dallas choking Cowboys. And you know what? I need to apologize, because I allowed that to happen, and I didn't really challenge him. I didn't try to fight him right here on CBS Sports Radio, but here to redeem himself, because we like second chances here. We always like a good comeback story, is one of the hosts of BetMGM Tonight via BetQL. He'll join us each and every Friday on a Football Friday on CBS Sports Radio, 5:20 p.m. Eastern, 2:20 p.m. Pacific. That is Ryan Horvat. Ryan, what do you have to say for yourself?
I'm embarrassed for myself. I'm embarrassed because I trusted Mike McCarthy in a big situation, in a big game, in primetime, on primetime against the San Francisco 49ers. What I really trusted in that game was Dan Quinn and that Dallas Cowboy defense to get pressure on Brock Purdy. And instead, we got the best game that Brock Purdy's played as a pro. He was pushing the ball down the field. I thought they were going to have to use George Kittle maybe more in pass protection because of that pass rush. Instead, George Kittle had the hat trick. He had 3 touchdowns in that game. So I'm embarrassed. Hopefully I could redeem myself. Luckily, I did come on with you a lot last season, and I feel like I made the people a lot of money. So one bad week, you know what happens, just like in the NFL, just like in college football, we burn the tape and we move on to this week. Zach.
Yeah, don't sound like you're an Atlanta Brave player where you just focus on previous seasons and don't acknowledge what happened this season. Don't be one of those Atlanta Braves today. All right, let's start you off. 3:30 p.m. Eastern time tomorrow. This is my favorite game of the weekend, Oregon and Washington. The over-under 67. You got Bo Nix going up against Michael Penix Jr. Washington is a 3-point favorite. I've been saying it all year long, even before the start of the year. Washington is my favorite team in the Pac-12. I thought they'd win the Pac-12 championship this year. But where do you lie with Washington currently being a 3-point favorite?
I'm a big fan of both of these teams, both of these offenses, both of these quarterbacks, both of these coaches. I love Kalen DeBoer at Washington. I love Dan Lanning. You had him on a couple of weeks ago.
Yeah.
I love what that guy brings to the program. The only knock on Oregon for me is they really need to clean up those penalties. And I'm a little concerned because it is Bo Nix on the road. You go back to his time at Auburn. Granted, that was against SEC defenses, did struggle a little bit on the road, but I actually like Oregon with the points. There's a +3 that's available right now, -110. I like them against this Washington defense. The only issue I have with Washington is the defensive side of the ball. They're really struggling right now to stop the run. When you adjust for schedule, they're outside the top 100 right now in defensive line yards allowed, outside the top 100 in havoc created, outside the top 100 in tackles for loss. So I worry a little bit, are they going to be able to stop the run? Because Oregon, I think they have the best offensive line in the country, definitely the best offensive line in the Pac-12. So I think they're going to be able to run the ball. I lean that there's going to be a lot of points scored in this game. I didn't bet the over, but I do like Oregon just because I do think that they're the more complete football team. But it won't shock me if Washington finds a way to win this game, just because Michael Penix right now has the second best odds. Actually, he's the favorite right now to win the Heisman. He's putting together a ridiculous season, but I like Oregon in this game to at least cover the number.
Auburn and LSU. I don't trust Auburn, but I really don't trust LSU. They're the most disappointing team this year in college football. LSU did not have a good showing last week against Missouri. I thought they should have lost the game, but they found a way to win it. They're 4-2 on the season, and LSU is an 11-point favorite. Is this Vegas begging you to plus the 11 points with Auburn, and they're banking on LSU in this one? Because I look at that spread and I say, LSU shouldn't be an 11-point favorite up against anybody.
Yeah, and that's the thing, man. Like, a lot of people I know really like LSU in this spot against Auburn. They think this might be a little bit of a letdown spot for Auburn. They've been really competitive the last couple of weeks. And like you said, though, I just can't trust LSU to cover a big spread because on the defensive side of the ball, they give up nothing but explosive plays. They're outside the top 100, giving up explosive plays. They're also not a really good tackling team outside the top 75. So I trust them on the offensive side of the ball with Neighbors. And, Jaden's having a ridiculous season. If they're unbeaten right now, and I know he struggles a little bit when he's under pressure, he's not running the ball as much, but if they're unbeaten right now, he's probably getting some Heisman looks. But I just can't trust LSU to lay a big number, to cover a big number. So I would actually take the points against them with Auburn. One thing I do like, the over. I think it's as simple as you just bet overs in LSU games. They've went over in the last 9 games. Wow. So I just don't trust them to get stops. I trust them to score points. I'm just going over in the game, and hopefully that trend continues this Saturday.
So Ryan Horvat, not a part of the LSU family in the 11-point spread, but a part of the LSU family in the over. All right, USC, Notre Dame. This was a game a few weeks ago where it was like, oh, this is going to be a big heavyweight fight. I know it's always an important game, but Notre Dame the last 3 weeks have been very disappointing. USC is undefeated. We know they have the best player in the sport in Caleb Williams, but their defense is absolutely horrible. Notre Dame is a 2.5-point favorite. I feel as if a lot of people are going to plus the points here with USC. I don't know where the public money is. Notre Dame, I have trust issues with their offense, but I got to think that this offense is going to get going against USC.
Yeah, here's one where I don't like to pay attention to what the Joes or the pros or the public's doing or the sharps because, the pros, the Joes, they win money too every once in a while. They win some bets or they wouldn't go back to the window. And so I like Notre Dame in the game, but I wouldn't be shocked if USC blew them out just because it's Caleb Williams. It's that offense. The only thing that scares me is what you said about the defense. And I actually I like the Alex Grinch hire, but things are actually getting worse this season. They can't get stops. They're not getting as many takeaways as they had last year, and they've just been begging to lose a game really the last month of the season. They're not covering numbers, and I love Caleb Williams, but he's just playing hero ball right now. We saw it in overtime last week, had to throw the team on his back, using his legs. Even the passing offense doesn't look great. It's just kind of some backyard football stuff right now. But Notre Dame, their passing offense definitely doesn't look great. I like their tight end, Mitchell Evans, but they're really struggling right now, even with Sam Hartman, to throw the ball outside the numbers. Even in the trenches against Louisville, they were getting pushed around, including Joe Out. Defensive side of the ball, though, I do trust Notre Dame to get at least a couple stops in this game. If we get the weather, the Midwest wind and rainy conditions. You saw it at practice this week for USC. They got the hose out. They're squirting guys. Then I like Notre Dame to win this game. If it's a windy night, Caleb can't throw the ball, wet ball, nobody wants to throw a wet ball, then I like Notre Dame in this game. But they're going to have to be able to run the ball. And the one thing I'm waiting on before I place submit on this bet, I want to see if Audric Estime is going to be healthy. He hasn't been the same guy the last couple weeks, but they're going to need him against this USC defense. But if they're able to limit possessions, keep Caleb Williams and that offense on the sidelines, rainy, wet conditions, windy game, I like Notre Dame to win.
Ryan Horvat here with us. Let's cue the NFL music, and we'll get to some picks here for Week 6 in the National Football League. All righty, I'll start things off. Everyone's now back in on the Bengals after they beat the Arizona Cardinals. I look at the Bengals right now as a team that I still have trust issues with, even though I'm a big Joe Burrow fan. You go back to Cincinnati this week. The Bengals are a 3-point favorite. Seattle is a really good team. Everyone's saying the Lions are the third best team in the NFC. I think people forget that the Seahawks beat the Lions in Detroit this year. I love Seattle plus the 3 points this week, and I actually think that they will win the game outright against the Cincinnati Bengals, but I take the Seahawks plus 3.
I love it. We're on the same side in that game. All right, I'm going to go with an underdog as well.
Can I change it now after your performance last week? No, I'm just
kidding.
That wasn't nice.
Yeah, that was not nice. All right. Well, you know what? If I am going to lose, I'm going to take your team down with me, Zach. Give me the Patriots plus the 3 right now against the Raiders. I just feel like this is the perfect buy low spot on the Patriots. It doesn't look good right now. It doesn't look good at all. They've benched Mac Jones back-to-back weeks. This is more for me a fate of the Raiders. They're coming off a win. It was a primetime game, standalone game, so everybody got to see them beat the Packers. I'm not really high on the Packers right now. Not really high on the Patriots. Through 5 weeks as I look right now, they have the worst offense in the NFL by EPA. So the way I look at this, only way to go is up. I trust Bill Belichick to scheme up a defense to at least contain Devontae Adams. I do not trust Josh McDaniels here in this spot. And all they have to do, New England, you have to protect against Max Crosby. I don't like anybody else on the defensive side of the ball for the Raiders. So give me the Patriots to cover the 3 and a perfect buy low spot with New England here.
By the way, I'm a very large man, so I'm naturally just going to be bigger than you. I would just sit up a little bit because right now it looks like I'm just owning you here on our YouTube stream. Ryan Horvat here with us from BetMGM tonight. Come on, Horvat. I know you're still hungover from that birthday party last weekend, but let's look alive here on CBS Sports Radio. Alrighty, I'll stop being a jackass and teasing Horvat here.
I can't see myself.
It's all right. Colts and Jaguars. This is a game that the Jaguars probably win 28-24, and the hook will crush me here. And I probably should bet the Colts plus the points. I know there's a little Gardner Minshew revenge game, and the Jaguars have been wildly inconsistent, but I don't care. I will take the Jaguars laying the 4.5 points in Duval. Welcoming in Jonathan Taylor and Indy.
Oh, perfect, because this is the perfect head-to-head. I'm going to go the opposite side. Give me the Colts, actually. I just hate this spot for the Jags. They're coming back from London. They've been there the last 2 weeks. Rest advantage here for the Colts, and I don't think there's a huge drop-off from Anthony Richardson to Gardner Minshew. Like you said, we get the revenge game angle, and I think Richardson's the better runner, but you can't really run the ball against this Jags defense right now regardless. The way that you attack them is through the air, and I think the Colts may be able to do that. Also, their offensive line right now, top 5 in the National Football League, which is kind of surprising after last season. They get Jonathan Taylor back. Zach Moss has been a monster. I think they're going to be able to use some play action here. I'll take the Colts and go against you in this spot.
All righty, last one. We started the conversation with the Cowboys, won the conversation with the Cowboys. Back-to-back losses for America's team. Here they come. Everyone's going to say, the Chargers, they're 2-2. They stink. Brandon Staley's a moron, which you're not wrong about. But they still have a lot of talent, and everyone's going to tell me this is the perfect get-right game for the drama Dallas choking Cowboys. Well, that's why they turn into the drama Dallas choking Cowboys once again this week. Give me the Chargers plus the 2. Sprinkle the money line. Chargers going to win this game outright on Monday Night Football. Chargers plus 2.
All right, I'm going to go with the favorite, actually. Give me the Baltimore Ravens. The Titans' pass defense, we know, not very good. The run defense the last couple weeks also hasn't been very good. And I like the travel advantage here, actually, for the Baltimore Ravens. A couple of years ago, they went to London. They got blown out. So they've been preparing for this game. And they're also getting a little bit healthier. Ronnie Stanley's coming back. Morgan Moses are coming back. This is going to be the first time since week 1 Lamar Jackson's had all 5 of his starting offensive linemen. They had 7 drops last week. I don't think that's going to happen again this week. And what scares me a little bit for the Titans is if Tart can't go. He's their best interior defender. The last 2 weeks without him on the field, look at this. 260 rushing yards they've given up this season without him on the field. Wow. They've given up only 148 rushing yards with him on the field. They're having to play more heavy boxes. I like Lamar in this spot to bounce back, in this Baltimore offense to bounce back. Like I said, they had 7 drops. As long as they're able to keep Lamar clean, I think they should win this game by a full touchdown. Give me Baltimore.
So I go Seahawks plus the 3, Jaguars minus the 4.5, the Chargers plus 2. Horvat takes the Pats plus the 3, the Colts plus the 4.5, and the Ravens minus the 4.5. And you know what? I forgot to give you a birthday present. So I'm going to give you a birthday present right here. At plus 537, Ryan Horvat, anytime touchdown parlay. They called me the anytime touchdown parlay whisperer. I've been hitting every other week this year. So until that luck runs out, I'm going to keep on going back to the well. Jonathan Taylor anytime touchdown. Mike Evans anytime touchdown at plus 537. I like the odds on that this week, and you could thank me later, Horvat.
I like it. Let me throw you a teaser then.
Ooh.
Here, we're going to go with the Wong teaser, right? We're going to go with the Washington Commanders plus 8.5 and we're going to go with the Houston Texans plus 8.5. The Commanders going against Atlanta. You have the Texans going against the Saints. What we're going to do here is we're going to tease across both numbers, the 3 and the 7, with the Commanders are going to go from 2.5 to 8.5. Texans are going to go from 2.5 to 8.5. I like both teams to at least keep those games close.
A little two-team teaser. Gotta like that. All right, Ryan Horvat, host of BetMGM tonight via BetQL. We'll do it again next week. Ryan, thank you, and good luck this week.
Thanks so much for having me.
There you go. Ryan Horvat, one of the best of the business, joining us via BetMGM tonight and BetQL. We'll take a break. We'll come on back. Deshaun Watson out once again this week. We'll discuss. And also, we got to get to our Ask the Pros question. But first, let me tell you about our friends at AutoZone. Stream the NFL on Westwood One for free, sponsored by AutoZone. All season long, you can listen to every Westwood One broadcast of the NFL live on the NFL app by asking Alexa to open Westwood One Sports, or on the Odyssey app. Get in the zone, AutoZone. The free AutoZone Fix Finder service can help you find a fix for free. Get in the zone, AutoZone. Restrictions apply. Here's Rich Ackerman.
CBS Sports Radio. Sports Flash.
Well, not only will the Browns be facing the 49ers, but as you mentioned, they'll be doing so without Deshaun Watson, who is still hampered by a shoulder injury. The 1-4 Giants won't have Daniel Jones Sunday night in Buffalo because of his injured neck, so he has been ruled out. And Tyrod Taylor will start against his former team, and he'll do so without several offensive linemen, with Andrew Thomas missing his 4th straight game due to a hamstring injury, and rookie center John Michael Schmitz also out. Week 7 of the college football season has some big matchups, including a Pac-12 battle between Oregon and Washington in Seattle. The first time in the 123-year history between the two teams. They are both ranked in the top 10. Both are 5-0. Huskies head coach Kalen DeBoer said this will be a true test of how good they are.
I get excited for our kids and the opportunity of what this is, the stage they're going to be on, and what the community looks at this way. I mean, I think probably like any coach, rivalry week, you get excited about playing in a big game, and got to keep the standard the same, but it's a lot of fun.
The Brewers' Brandon Woodruff will miss most of 2024, perhaps all of next year, after undergoing shoulder surgery. I'm Rich Ackerman.
CBS Sports Radio. Make it a must-listen-to part of your day. It all starts at high noon Eastern, 9 a.m. Pacific. CBS Sports Radio.
You're in a 5-minute break. Four minutes, 30 seconds remaining. Four minutes remaining. Three minutes, 30 seconds remaining. Three minutes remaining. 2 minutes, 30 seconds remaining. Two minutes remaining. One minute, 30 seconds remaining. One minute remaining. Forty-five seconds remaining. Thirty seconds remaining. Fifteen seconds. Break ends in 5 seconds.
Hey, this is Howie. And this is Nick from the Backstreet Boys. And you're listening to the Zach Gelb Show on CBS Sports Radio. And guess what? Zach is back. All right.
He's live. He's nationwide on CBS Sports Radio. This is the Zach Gelb Show.
All right, it is the Zach Gelb Show on CBS Sports Radio, and it's time to answer Ask the Pros question of the day. And it's brought to you by O'Reilly Auto Parts. Jim in Arkansas asked Zach, who's a team in the NFL this weekend that has no chance to win? What an interesting question. Kind of like a morbid question, too. You could submit a question by tweeting at CBS Sports Radio or at Zach Gelb, ZACHGELB, using the hashtag #AskThePros. Think O'Reilly Auto Parts for all your car care needs. Get guaranteed low prices and excellent customer service from the professional parts people at O'Reilly Auto Parts. O'Reilly Auto Parts. I think there are 3 teams this weekend in the NFL that have no shot to win. The Cleveland Browns. Here we go, Brownies. Here we go. Hoo, hoo. Sorry, you have no chance this weekend. No Deshaun Watson. P.J. Walker, a college classmate of mine, getting the start for the Cleveland Browns. Watson out once again, but you're going up against the 49ers. I know you're going West Coast to East Coast. It's a 1 p.m. game. That concerns some people. The 49ers may play a little bit of a sloppy game, especially with the way that they dominated and destroyed the drama Dallas choking Cowboys on Sunday night. But there's no way the 49ers walk into the dog pound and then get on the plane home with an L attached to their resume. So the 49ers have the upper hand there, and the Browns have no shot this weekend. Another team that has no shot this weekend. If this game was in Carolina, maybe I'd give them the slimmest chance. But if you're on a bad football team, which the Carolina Panthers are, and there's nothing to look forward to, and you're going to the great weather of Florida, and you're going to the party town that Florida is, I wonder what the Panthers are going to be doing on Saturday evening. And I look at Carolina. They don't have the offense right now where even if Miami has a poor offensive performance, like if you tell me the Dolphins only get 3 touchdowns in the game, and that would be a bad offensive performance for the Miami Dolphins, does anyone anticipate that the Carolina Panthers right now are going to be able to score 3 touchdowns against the Miami Dolphins? Or 3 touchdowns and a field goal to beat them 24-21? No. The Dolphins are going to be opening up a can of whoop ass on the Carolina Panthers. There's no other way to put it. And the Panthers are just in such a terrible spot where your owner influenced taking Bryce Young over C.J. Stroud. And I was okay with that pick, but I'm not okay with it when it was your owner making the pick and the coaching staff, Frank Reich, who you hired, having to be talked into that because he preferred C.J. Stroud per Adam Schefter. And now C.J. Stroud is playing dominant football through the first 5 games of his young career. And Bryce Young is in a position where, how can you succeed? The line stinks. Adam Thielen, if it was 5 years ago, yeah, that's a number 1 wide receiver. But out in the year of 2023, the Dolphins just have too much offense. They're going to absolutely destroy the Carolina Panthers. And then the other team that has no chance to win this week. Sorry, Carlos. But I think we are a realistic radio program here. Sometimes we aren't realistic and we say things that we think are going to be right and then end up being dead wrong, and I have a lot of egg in my face on Monday. But there's just no way the Giants walk into Buffalo, walk into Orchard Park, coming off a game where the Bills lost in London to the Jacksonville Jaguars. So the Bills go from having the emotional high of taking it to the Miami Dolphins, blowing out the Miami Dolphins. Then you go to London, and if you want to say it's jet lag, you could use that excuse. They were just so sluggish. They were sloppy. Their offense wasn't humming. It's been the ups and downs of the Buffalo Bills through the first 5 games of the season. But now you get the perfect appetizer. Now you get the appetizer where no one's going to walk away from this game and say, oh, wow, the Buffalo Bills are this great, sensational team. But everyone likes to go to a party and you get a good appetizer and you devour that appetizer. And that's what the Giants are. The Giants right now are like a bunch of pigs in the blanket. They're walking into Orchard Park. They don't have Daniel Jones. They don't have Andrew Thomas. And the Bills are going to be sitting there. They're going to devour them up. That scene in Buffalo is going to be something. Because it's a primetime game, so Bills fans are going to be drinking, partying all throughout the day. They're going to be throwing mustard on their face, ketchup on their face, eating chicken wings, jumping through tables, being a bunch of savages that Bills Mafia is. And then they're going to get to party all throughout the game. Now, I know the Bills fans don't leave early, but like in the third quarter, with like 5 minutes to go, you'll be able to say, it's a work night. I got to go get ahead of this hangover and maybe actually get some Z's on the pillow tonight and actually sleep. And you go on home and you miss the entirety of the fourth quarter because that game's going to be a rout. Bills are going to win. Bills are going to win the game big. So the Giants have no shot this weekend. So to answer the question from our friend in Arkansas, Giants, no shot this weekend against the Buffalo Bills. The Panthers, no shot this weekend against the Miami Dolphins. And then the Cleveland Browns, no shot this weekend against the San Francisco 49ers. Now, real quickly, I gave a task today to Carlos Ortiz right before the show. Because Carlos, from what I could gather, whenever I hang out with Carlos, he always has a few drinks, always has some good food that is right by. Carlos Ortiz is a very fun time if you get to hang out with him outside of the confines of our CBS Sports Radio studio here at 345 Hudson Street. So I said to Carlos, when I finish up my Sunday night football shift and I do the 8 hours on Ion Football, which you can listen to on many of these same CBS Sports Radio affiliates, Sirius XM Channel 158 and the free Odyssey app, and I do 8 hours, I'm looking for a good football food because of the fact I have to sit there and watch that dreadful football game between the Buffalo Bills and the New York Giants. So Carlos Ortiz, what did you put together? What did you say that I should cook up on Sunday evening or have someone cook it up for me so I can enjoy it while I watch a Sunday night football game?
All right, so you're coming off an 8-hour shift, but you're going to go to bed soon. The game's going to be over early.
I don't know if I'm going to go to bed soon.
Well, you still don't want to overeat because you don't want a big pile of food in your gut, and then you try to digest it and then go to bed. That's not good for you. So we're going something a little bit lighter. I'm a big chips and salsa dude, but that's not food. So this is what we're going to do.
Okay.
You're going to take some plantains. You're going to mash them into a little disc. you're going to make some tostones.
What are those?
Tostones are smashed plantains in a circular shape. You'll throw them into some oil.
And what's the pronunciation?
Tostones.
One more time.
Tostones.
Tostones?
It's with a T. Tostones, if you want to see it without the...
Tostones.
Tostones. Yeah, if I'm going to say it like a gringo, I'm going to say tostones.
Okay.
But it's tostones.
Tostones.
Now, you make some tostones. When they come out of the pan, you pat them down, get the oil out, sprinkle some salt.
Okay.
Put them to the side. Make some guacamole. You take some avocado, some tomato, some onion, a little cilantro, some lime, mash it all up, mix it together. Now you got your bowl. You take your tostones, you dip them in, but you want something a little bit harder?
Where's the protein here?
Here's the protein. Get some skirt steak on the side.
Oh, now we're talking.
Grill that bad boy up. You throw some cilantro and some lime on that. Slice it all up when it's nice and hot. You take the steak, you smack it on top of the tostone, dip it into the guac. Boom. That's your football food of the week.
Wow, just stealing things from Mraz right there. Why don't you?
They're not going to need it anymore.
One problem. One big problem here. That meal will kill me.
Well, that's a you problem. I think for everybody else, it's cool.
That's going to kill me for one reason and one reason only. There's two foods that, or two items that I can't digest, and I instantly become sick. Like I don't get rushed to the hospital. I don't need like an EpiPen or anything like that. But I immediately, once I digest them, I will throw up. Mushrooms. So like if I get a cheesesteak, can't put mushrooms on them. And then it's a shame because I love guacamole. I used to love guacamole. But avocado?
Really?
Oh, no.
If I have anything more than a scoop, and I mean one small scoop of avocado, I am in the bathroom, throwing up, bunch of other images that I don't need to give the listening audience. I just can't digest it. It goes right through me, and I am as sick could be.
Problem solved. Get rid of the avocado. Now you got pico de gallo.
Okay.
There you go.
Now we're talking.
So you got a little tomato, onion, action going on there, and everything still applies.
Yeah. Now, some of the people in the chat are saying, all right, now we know Gelb isn't doing any magic mushrooms. No, I'm not. I can't do any mushrooms. Mushrooms aren't good for me. And I used to love mushrooms on a cheesesteak, and I used to love chips and avocado.
I'm not a mushroom guy.
And then 5 years ago, I don't know what happened. 5 years ago, mushrooms go right through me, sick as a dog. My sister almost killed me once. She made steak in a mushroom sauce. She didn't know this about me. And then like 30 minutes later, I'm like, what the heck was marinated in that steak? She's like, oh, it's a mushroom sauce. And I'm like, ah! It was just absolutely horrible. And unfortunately, my love for guacamole has come to a close. All right, anyway, that's how it's come to a close here on a Football Friday. I'll be back on Sunday for Eye on Football for the 8-hour marathon starting at noon Eastern, 9 a.m. Pacific. And then we'll be back on Monday at 3 p.m. Eastern, noon Pacific as well for another week of the Zach Gelb Show right here on CBS Sports Radio. Big thanks to Willie Colon for stopping by, Tom Glavine as well, Ryan Horvat. Also, big thanks to Carlos Ortiz and Stu Kovacs for producing this extravaganza. And a big thanks to each and every one of you. Have a great weekend, everybody. We out. Bye-bye.